Alrighty, welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen. Here we're heading into our next match. I misspoke right before we went to the break, saying that we were going to do the Immortals game. Obviously, we're like 2 hours behind schedule right now, so there's going to be a bit of a change up here. We're going to be jumping into NiP versus Astralis instead. Astralis just bouncing off of that last game. Again, very, very close, just barely coming out on top. So there is certainly potential for NiP to try and take this one. It's going to be on Overpass, though. Once again, Metas is with me. Metas, let's get right into this one, as it's about to get started at any moment.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this game. NiP and Astralis could be an interesting game on Overpass. The last few times these teams have played, Astralis have got the better of NiP. The best score being 16-10. So fairly one-sided confrontations. But yeah, as you said, the last game isn't going to give Astralis all the confidence in the world. It will give Zipex a lot of confidence because he played quite the beastly role. And there was a stat as well that was rounded off after the game. 9 clutches to Astralis, 0 to Optics. So it goes to show just how close that game actually was in the end. And Zipex picking up the bulk of those. So if he continues to perform, if the rest of Astralis wake up here, then I think they should be odds-on favourite to take this map. But who knows? NiP, they always have that potential.
Yeah, so we're going to be getting into it here now. NiP will start off on the T side with Astralis jumping over to the CT side. Our second match here, once again, as the group play continues on Katowice, will begin now. And on the opener, let's take a look and see what NiP is going to do for their pistol. Something basic or something a little bit more crazier. They do have a little bit of utility, but again, everything's still pretty basic. It's the 2 smokes being brought to the table here, along with a Molotov sitting on Freiburg and a couple extras on Exist. But they split up initially, although most of them are pushing over here towards the... over here towards Graffiti. They do try to push towards that, but it puts a nice stop to not only Glaive pushing through, but Dupree as well. Both kind of get destroyed, and, well, it's going to open up the pathway to a B hit if they want to go for it.
Well, man, NiP are just running away with this pistol round so far. They're already on the site. Device and Zipex are close nearby with their USPs, but down goes Zipex, and Device isn't going to be lasting a whole lot longer. NiP with a flawless pistol round. And Astralis will be digging deep into their pockets and getting those upgraded pistols with Kevlar. Good start for the Swedes.
Yeah, I mean, they just really feed those first 2 kills to them, trying to push their way back out. They had a flashbang, and it actually connected right at the beginning of it, but unfortunately the follow-through was a bit delayed, so it gave time for them to recover, and Pith kind of comes in there and saves it from the backside, too. He ends up with a 4K on the round, so starting off very strong on his own regard there. Certainly going to be helping out NiP here. And for Astralis, well, again, they're going to have to go from the back end. They did win the pistol the last map. This time they're going to have to save up and hope they can be the ones to upset in the second round, as they are going for the force, as we can already see from Dupree and Glaive's purchases.
So some technical issues with TS were being told in chat. Hopefully it can be remedied fairly shortly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just preoccupied reading the chat, seeing how long it's going to be. Okay, there we go. Unpause is coming in now. Should be ready to jump back in.
Yeah, and again, this is our second match here, so not a whole lot being seen yet today, but from what we've already seen from Astralis, you're certainly going to be looking towards Zipex to, I mean, make most of the big plays. That's really the only thing, though, that is going to give NiP a pretty big advantage into this match is, I mean, beyond Zipex, right? Is there anyone you could say had, like, a really remarkable or even memorable performance back over from the train match?
No, not really. I think everyone was playing well below their level. But that, I suppose, could be something that NiP are very cognizant of, is even when they play below their level, they're still getting victories. So you can't really write off Astralis. Glaive is going to trade out with the Deagle with Kirby, so he can go for that early peek up long. Kirby is playing close angle with a 5.7. Makes a lot more sense. You can get the taps across close range with the 5.7, can be very deadly. 3 UMPs for NiP and a couple of assault rifles. Slow and steady into this round. Get right, still at spawn. Just watching for the potential flank round the side.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on things, as they have put 0 pressure towards B, which has allowed for Zipex to get full control here as we push back in. And he's also got Dupree sitting up on top of him, watching for connector pressure downstairs there too. Seems like it's going to be avoided for the most part, though. Freiburg's in the ladder, but the bomb's up top. And in the moment, I think Getright's going to move in with him to recover and sort of group a bit long, as they do have that pressure there. At the same time, there's quite a hefty stack, assuming Glaive sticks around here, which it looked like for a second he was going to dive back into the bank, but now he'll certainly be sticking around with all that pressure pushing its way back in. This will be the test. Do they see Kirby? The Molotov seems like it went... Oh, look at that position from Kirby. Just out of the Molotov, and that's going to be huge, as it does let him sneak in a kill right there. Trades rolling pretty fast from NiP, though, with Exist and Pit finding 2 for themselves, but Device also chiming back in. Keep in mind, again, Astralis still has full short control, but they're going to be pushed on. dupreeh even given a moment to recover on that one, but Get Right still takes him down. They're crushing the remaining CTs pretty quickly. It's down to Device now in a 1v3. They know where he's playing from. We'll see if he can do any damage, but ultimately, NiP are looking good to hold control here.
Yeah, the Deagle not quite able to connect the shots on the cross, and it will take the second round, albeit fairly labelled. It definitely wasn't the easiest of aggressions, and Kirby nearly had himself a couple of kills from the alcove on long. But for a while there, NiP didn't have control over bathroom. They were pushing up long, no one was checking that, so it was possible Astralis, who had 2 players coming through connector, could have started to play some shenanigans, but not quite the case. Get Right's going to be watching from spawn once again. Identical position to last round. Full save. Not a single bit of investment has came through for Astralis. So, yeah, NiP will be taking a 3-0 lead, barring some kind of miracle.
Yeah, we can see NiP, of course, just taking things slowly in case Astralis wanted to try and go for some sort of 5-man push. And this is the trash round, as I like to call them here, where there's 0 investment and essentially 0 chance of an upset here. Device is going to be playing around with Pit a little bit, but that's not what you want to do. Pit grabs a nice long-range headshot, as we can see the corpse now from Kirby's point of view from way in the backside of bathrooms there, bringing us down to a nice, cool 5v4 right at the start. And now with that having the man advantage, they'll start to push in a little bit. Kirby, I think, is going to swing out here to challenge, but that won't last very long. Same thing for Get Right moving in here, too, against these players trying to push towards T-Spawn. It is dupreeh looking to try and knock him back out, but 2 are going to push towards him, and it is the long-range Kobe to try and take him down. So Zipnix is going to be the last one standing. Not for very long, though. Pit takes him down, and round goes pretty much exactly as we expect.
Only 2 kills as well, by the way, from Astralis thus far in 3 rounds. So it's going to be a couple of last nades finding their way into the Danes' hands. See Device very much bare with his AWP. Not a single kit as well for the Danes. So NiP have a chance to maybe claim this first rifle round and get things seriously boiling for Astralis. A very similar start to how Train was. They won the pistol, but they went 5 rounds behind. An early nade goes in. Exist is all by his lonesome. That Smoker's going to keep the rest of the team at bay, but still get the entry frag. Long to dupreeh, who falls. Does do a bit of damage on his way out. With these flashes being traded, though, it does keep NiP from pushing up monster for the time being. Now the green light has been punched in, and they'll move towards the side, but Glaive is in a prime position to strike with his M4, but gets bested by Freiburg. Huge entry frags for NiP. And then now Zipex is going to come through with 2 of his own, is keeping this round interesting. 3-on-3, and he's going to get himself yet another one. He is certainly showing up for Katowice so far. Exist is the next player to fall. Forrest tries his spray. Down he goes to barrels. And you've got to say, if Zipex doesn't get a kill on that approach there, that is NiP with the easiest of rounds. Huge hold once again.
Zipex showing up big time here now, and in a gun round as well, coming up with those big kills. As we saw, the second one through the smoke easily has to be the most impressive one there, and then Kirby just to chime in and finish the job. Still a little bit tense towards the end there, but he does his contribution, and that's going to put them on the board immediately. Unfortunately, as you had mentioned, very few kills actually go by the way of Astralis in these first 3 rounds, so NiP still has a decent bank built up already. They're going to have no problem reinvesting into this next one, so they're not out of the hot seat just yet. And it is going to be fast pressure, though, now. Astralis seem to have reinvigorated themselves a little bit, so we'll see them pushing into connector. They're going to push out towards short in general here, too, and it's going to be challenged in a moment. Nobody's checking that corner. Glaive almost gets away with 2 kills. Kirby does chime in for that one, but that's a bit of an overreach, as Freiburg's actually able to punish that before he himself can be knocked out. Same story for Exist, so they'll get the better end of that one and bring it into a 4v3.
Freiburg and Exist both low. They do have control over the bomb now that Freiburg's picked it up. But Astralis still very healthy across the boards. And do have nades to play with. So for me, it's pretty even so far in this round. It's very hard to distinguish which team is going to be coming out triumphant. Even though the manpower does favour NiP, they're going to have to push together. They have plenty of nades on both Freiburg and Exist, but they're both low. So if they catch a bullet, that's a lot of utility that will fall by the wayside.
It seems as though NiP are going to resolve to try and make a push over here towards the A-bomb site at the end of the day, which could prove dangerous, obviously, with dupreeh having this flank already opened up upon them. Device now trying to get prepared for this one. Again, they were expecting long pressure before, as that's what we did see a couple rounds back. But now, well, here comes dupreeh on that flank. Immediately, GetRight's going to get destroyed. You've already got Friberg and Exist at very low HP too. Exist is trying to sort of lurk his way in to see if he can find anyone, but there's no one actually on the site itself. dupreeh is trying to move towards long now to reactivate his flank. The smokes from the T's actually doing a good job of holding them back, and they'll go for the plant, and the timing works out just as the smokes start to fade here, but unfortunately, again, with the health pools, it's going to be rough to hold back on Exist. Chiming in for one more by the bank. He does take down Device, but now dupreeh is here too, and you have Zipic still sitting back down below the dumpster. dupreeh, he's got a headshot angle against Forest, but he himself at 13 HP. It's very, very hazmatic now for both of these teams to try and push back in. dupreeh finding the kill now, though, and it's up to Exist from the backside, only with 32 HP. He's gotten them low, and it's a stick on the bomb defuse, but it's a full 10-second one at that, so Exist is given the room to sneak back out. He tries to go for the kill into dupreeh, but it's not going to pan out, and Astralis will grab a second round.
Very close. Right down to the bitter end it will be, but the 10-second defuse comes to fruition. You can see that Exist was desperate for a pixel just to show itself, so he could try and even the odds. Both teams will have a bye. 2 in a row now for Astralis. NiP with these, well, with the one bomb plant, able to rummage together a decent enough one with some nades. And early on, already pushing into the short sides with Exist. Does take a little bit of damage with that nade, but he's A-okay to keep pushing forward alongside GetRight. He's already onto short. dupreeh on the other side of the pillar, alongside Zipex. Similar position to how they held off on B earlier on. This time, though, there are more nades in the hands of NiP. Bomb dropped out towards T-spawn. And it's going to be a case of NiP being very slow for the time being.
Zipic's there as well, almost edging out a kill early on at the GetRight, but it's actually going to be NiP that finds the first frag this time. Exist knocking down dupreeh as he tries to go for a bit of a peek over there towards construction, and it just doesn't pan out. As you can see, Device as well, though, he might have himself a flank opened up upon a huge push from NiP here. There's 2 of their players at the moment. Nobody watching their backs. They're trying to push in towards short, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any reinforcements on the way anytime soon either. The bomb also positioned there by Fountain. So if he sticks around and bides his time, he could do massive damage if they do decide to follow through with this execute here onto A. And he's already transferred that intel too. He's just going to stick around at the top side of that connector right now and call for his teammates to rotate back up.
Device could be the linchpin, though, because he hasn't been spotted in the bathroom. The issue is that the rest of his team's falling on the site. They could have held themselves in position. Device's potential flank could have been very powerful indeed. As it stands, though, they have half a mind to just try and save this M4 alongside Zipex. So yeah, you can see the importance of keeping those players alive on the site. Looks like NiP will be claiming a 4th round.
Yeah, the save being called here, and now it's just survival. Good shot from Device, but he may not be out of the woodwork yet either. As Pit, along with Exist, are also very close to him. Zipix, meanwhile, down over on the B-bomb site, also holding on currently. But we do see Exist actually edging out the kill onto Device right there. So it is just Zipix left alive with 1 HP. Trying to keep himself rolling here so that they can carry the AK into the next round. He's got to watch his backside, and he's not going to catch it. Pit to sneak up, finishes the job, and no saves will be had for the Astralis side going into this round. And it's going to be a very clean reset again. Just 2 rounds picked out. No economy build up at all, really, for a majority of Astralis. So they have to sort of obey that and just go for the full save on the most part here. Well, I think they'll force into it with what they can, obviously, since they're looking at a low amount regardless. So they do go into it as much as they can.
Yeah, the nightmare of the CT side is very much alive and well right now. Astralis going for that force. A few players and about $1,000, but this next round won't yield too much unless they get a bunch of kills. And Exist does thread the needle, taking down Glaive into the head, who's up on the balloons. So very aggressive positions assumed by Kirby and Device, who are both in bathroom together with a crossfire established. And the other 2 members of dupreeh and Zipex are coming up through trash now. So it's going to be a stack on the A side, but NiP, they are starting to move their way through, courtesy of GetRight's flank on B. He knows it's clear. The rest of the team will follow through.
Yeah, everybody's just going to swing back in here. So it's another very easy round. Astralis, unfortunately, just... This is, I mean, this is almost identical to the problems that they faced, right? Going back over towards Train when they were playing Optic just moments ago here. Okay, that's a bit awkward. Yeah, right? Unfortunately, not found in the corner there. He is traded out by Device, but again, the more of them roll back in, it's a bit of a trading spree for both teams, unfortunately, back down in these lower tunnels here. But dupreeh is going to get the better of them at the end of the day, escaping here with an AK, whereas everybody else in Astralis is basically full saved or, had a pistol armor pickup here. So, if he's able to get away with that and survive, then that's more power to him.
Well, that was the issue on Train, really. That when it came down to raw team play, it really was Optic that were the superior team. It just came down to those clutches. It came down to the experienced head and some individual prowess from Astralis that got them over the finish line. So against NiP, a team that is also very experienced, been together a very long time indeed, especially the core, will Astralis be able to have that much going in their favor when it comes to clutches? Probably not. So NiP already at 5-2 lead, with Astralis likely into an eco in this round, are in a fantastic position, and there's nothing to really give me too much hope for Astralis getting around at least this one. Just dupreeh with an AK and Kevlar, and theVoDs has himself a Deagle. We have already seen the Deagles land a bunch of kills for Astralis today, but it's unlikely to be the determining factor here.
Yeah, for NiP, it's fast, spread out again. Most of their players actually working down into the connector currently, and there won't be a challenge on that from Astralis. They actually have a rather heavy stack over here towards B. Again, as mentioned before, they were going to be on the double save here, so that's why they forced up in the last round. And while dupreeh did escape with an AK, it's certainly still not enough to be able to justify going in for the full buy here on this 8th one, so they still have to save into this round here, and, we'll see what dupreeh can do. He's actually being rather aggressive with the AK as well, moving out. And he may find himself a quick end if he meets Get Right at the wrong angle. He's paying attention to it. He's looking for him. But at the end of the day, Get Right's going to win. However, Glaive will swing back out. Surprise Get Right. But he's still able to recover in time to get that kill before finally going down to Kirby.
Yeah, the P250 is going to yield one kill, but now that NiP are moving together as one cohesive unit up onto a device with his Deagle, is going to have to pull out quite the rabbit out of the hat. He's going to land the first shot. Forrest checking the corner where Kirby was before. It's another reason why that position in pistol rounds is so good. It does keep your enemy on the tiptoes, assuming there could be another player there in the future. With that smoke down, device is able to survive a little bit longer, but the real estate is claimed by the terrorists, who are now on the site with the bomb. Checking behind them. This will allow Freiburg to go for a plant, and no one is going to be trying to track him down from Astralis. They're going to wait for the smoke to clear and then push through afterwards.
Kirby is boosted up currently, but there's no angles for him to work towards here. Freiburg's going to peek. There's where Kirby's able to strike with that AK now. So he moves in, finds the first kill. They've got the man advantage, and they've got a second AK to work with here now, too. His device pushes forward. He'll be clearing out long. All three are on AKs. He might only one has armor, though. Exist in pit. Chime back in for 2 more kills, but then Zipic's able to trade. Tapping on the bomb. This is still very hard to clutch out, though. He has to bait Exist into the open, get him to take the duel, and right now he's playing it so smart, toying with him on the knife right there. He knows he hasn't committed to it, and Zipic just knows this isn't really worth it. He's going to fall back, give this one up, and let NiP take a 6th.
We'll play by Exist in the end there. Just making sure he's a nuisance more than anything else. Zipex will be able to save, and we'll be by through into the next round, but NiP already with a 6-2 lead and easily able to repurchase all the weapons they just lost. So Astralis, it has been sketchy, shaky grounds, but we saw a similar situation against Optic. They managed to fight through all the trouble and get themselves an all-important win. But Device did have a bit of an off day with the AWP. I've got to say on Train, he didn't quite have the impact you'd be expecting. So maybe he's going to turn things up here. He is going for the early peek in mid. It gets flashed out and will turn tail and run.
And it's early control into the bottom connector here for NiP as well. Same story that we've been seeing in the past couple of rounds. A bit more cautious this time since Astralis do have the investment again. But nothing too aggressive. Same story here from Astralis. They had that bit of a sort of shine in their eye after they did win the first gun run there in the following one. They wanted to get back into it. They wanted to try to play it forward here towards short A, but then they fell back after that. Bit of a battle happening towards the connector, just kind of spray going back and forth. Nothing significant happening with the exception of Zipix on his peak being brought down to 15 HP, but they just spray right back. It's Glaive from Heaven that does massive damage to the plywood. It's going to bring Exist down to 19 HP. It almost eliminates Freiburg here too. He's at 6 now as he tries to jump back across it, but things are also being challenged upstairs here over towards short A. It's Kirby that gets the opening kill against Forest, but they also lose Device in the process as well, so it's chaos all over the map right now. There's Get Right getting another kill into dupreeh when he tries to push out for Monster.
Yeah, and still you've got Kirby and Glaive who are on the A site, so Zipex is by himself, an island of loneliness and misery, and just 15 health to play with. Gets himself a bit of damage inflicted. As you mentioned earlier, Freiburg and Exist are already low, and there's the touchdown by Glaive. Long range, Get Right comes back with a kill of his own, and now the remaining 2 Swedes are exceptionally low. Just 25 health between the two of them. Glaive and Kirby looking a lot more healthy on their side of things. 18 seconds in which to play with. Here comes the spray, and Exist will get put out of his place. Freiburg with 6 health and 10 seconds to try and pull off a clutch. And it looks like he may be able to get the plant at the very least.
Running up very quickly, though, is going to be Glaive. He does succeed in getting the plant, which is... Oh, my God, he just got that kill into Kirby. And he's allowed out of the site. So he's going to run away with this. There's a possibility for him to clutch this now. Glaive waiting, and thankfully he realizes what's going on. So he's able to get an easy closeout with his USP, but things almost got out of hand there if he did try to go for something a bit more creative and, like, wrap around. Or something else a little bit tricky there.
Yeah, that is pretty unreal that Freiburg was able to get the plant and a kill out of that 2-on-1. So again, you can see how that's going to hurt Astralis and their economy. They lose 4 players in that round. They're going to be able to get a buy. It's going to include a FAMAS, and this is pretty much depleting all of their funds. It's really only Zipex that's going to have a little bit of money to play with, but now that he's bought his nade, he's down to $800. So Freiburg doing quite a lot of work, even though NiP loses the round.
Yeah, and now... Well, we'll take a look and see here what exactly NiP, if they're going to try to change anything up, now that they've finally been met with a little bit more aggression against them. But it's still the same opener. 3 of their players working immediately down towards bot connector. There will be a challenge to it this time, though. Kirby, only here for intel, though. As soon as he spots that player, he's immediately falling back. If it baits players up on top, too, this is what's going to work out great, because they have the other 2 sitting here. But no, they're not going to stick around. They all just fall back to the site after, you know, seeing the pressure that's coming out from both the connector and towards the playground and whatnot.
Yeah, this connector control every single round is allowing NiP the options to pretty much run the rule over the map. And I would be interested to see if Astralis at any point try and take connector control for themselves on the CT side. I feel like that would give them a little bit more leeway. Even if they just throw that in once or twice, it'll give NiP reason for caution when pushing through to that side of the map. You can see right now Kirby playing a close angle on the flower bed on long, and he has Device with the AWP, who's looking long range. If he misses the AWP shot, he can back away, knowing that Kirby can get that spray when the push comes in. And now Glaive is also, in the meanwhile, jumping behind the boxes, watching through short. So decent crossfires have been established, not much time left remaining, and Kirby's position could be all that counts for Astralis, but he's only going to get a 1-for-1 trade. That may not be good enough, and the smoke's now landing, means Device has to play in a more aggressive position.
Yeah, they're getting ready to push back into the site. Now, Device obeying it, though. He tries to back up to Bank. He'll be cut off by Get Right in an aggressive movement up towards the stairwell there. So they'll take him down. Glaive can't see anything through the smoke, and it's still... Oh, no, he actually has a little angle below it. So he's able to sneak in 1 kill. Traded out very quickly by Forest, though. And now the rest are on a rotate still. 10 seconds left, and there is a flank, which Dupree has not revealed himself yet. Is he actually going to have an angle to stop this? No, Get Right in the nick of time moves in there to stop the player that was trying to stop the bomb planter. And it ends up working out very well for NiP.
Man, light a candle for Astralis' CT side here on Overpass. Not only are they 7-3 behind, they're in a 4 spy. NiP can feasibly take a 9-3 lead here if they can pick this round up, which would be an absolutely brutal CT half, and it's not even done then. Astralis with 4 Deagles and a UMP. 2 smokes to try and shield themselves. Zipex can use one of them so he can extinguish the molly in order to push aggressively, but he's going to find out no one's here. It is still information. And with Glaive securing the first kill, NiP have quite a bit of work to do still. And I was curious if we'd see more connector control. And this round they did try and push it, so it's going to keep NiP back for a few more seconds.
Yeah, but they can't really stay inside of it, though, unfortunately, with the kind of buy that they have working. They still do have to give room for NiP, so it's one more round at least where they do kind of yield to it. But again, they are putting the control back over here towards water as well, so it's not necessarily free play for NiP downstairs. They do have to fight for water a little bit if they want to try to make it a B play. They've been favoring A, though, so it's actually, in my opinion, probably going to be pretty unlikely unless Freiburg is calling something out now that they would shift it in the other direction. However, it seems that I'm going to be wrong. They do decide to play it downstairs here towards B now, as everybody's wrapping back around, and for the most part, they're actually going to be able to avoid this water stack. So we have the 2 players boosted up. They won't be able to see much of what's being pushed towards Monster right now unless they divert over to this room.
Yeah, as you say, because Zipex is stood up, he only has a much more narrow angle, and his feet could be spotted on the approach. But look at this. NiP actually haven't even bothered to go through short. They're just going straight on to the B side. So that boost has been completely wrecked in that sense. Get Right is going to go for the spray. Connects it onto Glaive, who was already low. Does get finished off with Forest chiming in for the assist. And with the bomb plant, the 4-on-4 not looking good for Astralis. They have no nades to come back on with. No kit either. It's just full-on Deagles.
Yeah, and they were being denied everywhere too. You can see they wanted to go for a quick wrap over towards Monster here, but they even had that smoked off, so they couldn't push back in. Exist is punishing them. Pit got a little bit aggressive there, as we saw, but he still got a kill before going down, and it kept the Astralis guys actually within range of the site to where they could hunt them all down, so no one was able to fall back and save their armor or pistol upgrade or anything like that. And ultimately, again, they don't really have the cash flow here still. They're going to have to look into another save on this round. Same exact problem that we saw back on Train over there, where they just did not really have the cash flow for their entire CT side up until really the very end, where they finally started to get some rounds together. It's the same exact story here, where they're trying to do a lot of forces or a lot of half buys when it is a bit risky to do them, and it's just leaving them with no cash flow.
I think it's coming down to a lot of sloppy clutches as well, where they win, but they lose a bunch of weapons in the process. As it is an eco, and it's going to be the eco cleanup, courtesy of Ninjas in Pajamas. Not a single loss comes in, and yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This is very much a carbon copy of what we saw on Train, where they could never get an economy together. Even in this round at 13 through, they're going to have a buy, but it's not going to include an AWP unless Glaive drops and basically has nothing to play with. I'm expecting to see full-on assault rifles, maybe a UMP. So it's even in this round at 9-3 behind, it's not going to be a pristine buy. They have certainly not looked the Astralis that we've seen over these last few months. Certainly haven't quite shown up today.
Yeah, certainly not. Again, things still kind of warming up here in the group stage, but it's all going to be played out here today. So as far as I can remember, anyway. So they are going to need to kind of get their stuff together pretty quickly, or they may be facing elimination very quickly at this event. But it's been easy going as we take a look at the other side for NiP. They haven't even really had to do, all that much in terms of tactics and whatnot. Just slow play and kind of keeping the playbook open, not necessarily going for like these set executes right from the beginning of the round, but sort of keeping it a bit more loose and deciding later on in the round where they want to play it. It works out beautifully for them, as almost every single time they're able to get 1 or 2 kills on Astralis, or they push Astralis back into the sites, and basically it just comes down to whichever execute they want to go for at that point. And it's very basic, but it's working out very well for NiP currently.
Yeah, I mean, when Astralis is struggling, playing this basic, solid Counter-Strike is really seems to be the Achilles heel of the Danes. There's going to be another trade early on. The flashes are solid, and Glaive will open up with 2 kills. So this is one of the best chances we've seen for Astralis to get themselves another rifle round in quite some time. But it is going to be Freiburg faking out the bomb plant, trying to draw the CTs in position. That will get himself killed, though, sprayed through the smoke, and now suddenly CT's coming out the woodwork. Forest does have the bomb and enough health to cause a bit of a threat still. 1 minute and 5 to play with. But the call has came out, and Glaive forever, the very intelligent mind in this Astralis team, is already flanked around, so he should be in prime position to fend off this Forest plant.
Yeah, so they're already going to be up here waiting for Forest. There's already 2 players up in the site just getting ready for this push. So if he's able to make it work, that would be incredible. But it's not looking likely as he does swing out. Glaive's going to be waiting in that corner, and then immediately loses the duel there. So it's a claimer from Astralis, mainly off of the heroics from Glaive. They really do let him get away with a lot up there towards Heaven, as he walks up at the perfect time to peek out against that. Just as NiP are swinging in to take control, they, again, initially get the entry for themselves, so they're looking good to move in and swing that control, but they don't smoke or try to flash towards Heaven at all. So he's free to just unload on the players that are trying to basically all push in for Monster.
Yeah, so much of that round just came down to perfect timing on the flashbangs in Monster. You saw a player going off by themselves, being isolated from the rest of the pack, as Forest will get the first kill in this round with the AWP back towards Playgrounds. That is going to be a huge pick onto Device, who again is struggling a little bit with the AWP. He's been struggling to get those opening picks today. Same very much the case on Train. And so losing the early player, Astralis finally start to get some momentum, and it's been somewhat kneecapped for the time being. We'll spread the CTs that little bit more thin over on B. It's actually just going to be Dupree by himself. The rest of the team is on the A side of the map.
So, a bit of a misflash that actually could prove quite crucial. They don't try to do it again as they swing in here. Pit, though, no problem for him. He swings right in, grabs that kill. Kierby is still going to be waiting up top, though, to be able to respond to that. Not just once, but twice. He's very low, down to 12 HP. Freiburg trying to swing into it. Finally, he's going to get the trade kill, but in this amount of time, it has allowed for Xyp9x to move into a position in the bathrooms as well, just to try and do more damage to NiP. The flash, not going to phase him, but it does make him look away, as Freiburg will be able to grab that kill. Everything falls to Dupree, who is working on a pretty big flank right now. But I fear it is going to be quite irrelevant by the time he gets it into a position where he can actually grab a kill or 2.
Yeah, more often than not, honestly, when it comes down to pop flashes, it's not even the flash itself, like the detonation that blinds you, that kills you. It's the fact you have to turn your back on the flash and kind of outposition yourself. Your crosshair's no longer on point, and it allows the peak to be very much the prevailing factor. As you saw there from Freiburg. As you mentioned, Dupree's is going to try and save, has no interest in trying to clutch this round. And the AK will be a nice little boost. Device and Kirby can afford to get a decent enough buy. But going through into the last round of the half, Zipex and Glaive are going to be the issue. Glaive's just on $350 before the end of this round, so could even be down to a pistol and armor, something like that. Incredibly rough CT half. I mean, it's definitely not a T-sided map. You'd be expecting to see Astralis pick up 9, at the very least, rounds on the CT half. NiP are in great position.
Yeah, and now Dupree obviously very disconnected from the action. Zero chance that NiP are going to take him down, so he does save this gun. Now the question is, does Astralis have enough to buy again? And, well, they're not even going to give themselves a moment to think about it, as very quickly KRB immediately forces into it. It's not going to be the end of the world, but there's going to be a lot of UMPs in the team, as they're sitting very well below the line to, wisely invest. And we can see that now, just based on the utility that they carry. It's only Glaive and Dupree that get a decent amount. Zipex gets a smoke, but that is it.
Yeah, that's the issue. They had the choice of maybe going for an extra M4 and then Glaive just having a pistol instead, but they elect to have everyone on more firepower. They are going to take over Connector with Glaive and Device in this final round, up with a boost. So decent positions assumed, but this is where you're expecting to see NiP just funnel through into Connector and take this for themselves. Dupree's going to get the first kill, Molotov going in, Glaive going to switch to his smoke. Not quite deep enough, actually, so Glaive's okay to just sit there, and that could really bait Freiburg into a false sense of security. Still gets the spray, though, onto Glaive, who goes big, and the second. Huge kills by Freiburg after conceding the first kill. That is going to put so much pressure on Dupree, Kirby, and Zipex now.
So, for Kirby, he's going to be swinging for the rotate back up on top of the A bomb site here now, as NiP pretty much are not shifting at all. They're just going to go directly for the B play, I imagine. Everybody else just moving in, and Astralis have kind of given them way to it, so they're going to let them in. Dupree trying to re-peek back out from CT main now, but Exist goes right into that to be able to pick up the kill. Zipex is here for a response to it now, but they are also down a player because of this one. So Carey moving forward, he does find Forrest. We're even again, and they get some damage onto Pith as well as he tries to go for the plant. He'll succeed at it, and for the most part, Astralis are still tucked back over here. Not really able to get any sight control, so Kirby's going to change his position up towards heaven. Oh, and Zipex is caught jumping by Pit on the backside. So now for Kirby, there's not going to be a whole lot of room left to maneuver here. He just has to go for it since we're on last round. As he does find Pit, he's got a good angle against him. He has them both very low now, while he himself is only down to about 40 HP, but he's running out of time. He has the kit, he has the extra 5 seconds to play with, but that's already gone. He's already biting into his 10 seconds now. Hits Freiburg into the open, he's out of time. There's no way he's pulling this one off. Pit just plays it back very cautiously, and Kirby not aggressive enough, so it's NiP that run away with it, and they're going to end the half 11-4 in their favor.
Still a decision there for Freiburg to peek with the molly, throws it onto the bomb, knows that unless Kirby has a smoke, it's all but done. Incredibly solid rounds by Ninjas in Pajamas, but I can't help but feel that Astralis are playing on like 20% of their capability at this stage. They have looked incredibly shoddy today.
Yeah, and it's looking like it's going to certainly cause quite a few negatives in matches versus these bigger teams like NiP that they're going to have to watch out for. I mean, it's a miracle that they win that match versus Optic in itself based on the way things started off, but now the question that's going to have to beg itself is if there's going to be any room for recovery at all going into the second half. Now, they have to immediately start off or try to upset in the second round if they lose the pistols. Otherwise, NiP might be looking at a quick swing in their favor to take control.
I mean, you can't take anything away from NiP. They've performed really solidly, but yeah, it really doesn't seem like Astralis have shown up, and NiP have made the most of that. When you consider that 4 of the 5 players are on double digits and higher, that's pretty impressive. Everyone's sharing the burden of the weight. No one is underperforming here on NiP. No one's necessarily taking it away. Freiburg's got so many opening picks, doing his job. Meanwhile, 1-4 trade early doors in this pistol round. Glaive and Exist, the 2 players to fall. And yet another 2 go down, and it still remains even. Dupree's taking a bit of damage on the site. They have got the B controlling the ramps, but look where the bomb is on the other side of the map. They're not going to be able to get that planted for quite some time, and if Forrest can take down Device, this will put the round into a very awkward position for Astralis. It's a duel to the death between him and Device, who is keep peeking him. They're not able to get the kill just yet.
It's already an awkward round, unfortunately, for both teams. It all started off with that playground battle where, you know, the teams got jumbled up and nobody could seem to have an advantage. Dupree's got a nice lineup against Forest, though, so he's going to shut them down there. They've got the bomb back, and now it's Freiburg that has to come out big with a clutch. Unfortunately, since, you know, they pulled all the pressure off of B, it is just a 50-50 remark in terms of where the bomb's actually going to swing towards. It looks like Astralis are taking it into A, though.
Freiburg playing in a position where it can easily rotate to either side. The issue is more about how many players he has up against him. Dupree has shown himself not quite able to connect the headshot there from Freiburg, and as soon as he goes up onto the bin, he is a dead man. 5-11, big round that Astralis required has been finalized, and now NiP into likely a force buy. I'd imagine most teams in this situation would go for one, and they will be no different.
Yeah, so investment coming in. Here's the thing, though, and we've seen this trend show up over the past couple months, too, is there's no armor behind any of these buys with the exception of Pit. Everybody just goes for the pistols, and that's it. And this is to give them that little bit of extra utility to buy into the first gun round there. Normally, you do see the armor picked up behind it, but that does limit your ability to buy unless you get, like, a massive amount of kills in these first 3 rounds. It does limit your ability to buy, like, you know, a lot of smokes and Molotovs going into that first gun round, so this kind of eliminates that by not going for the armor investment.
Yeah, plus typically in these kind of buys, you'll see a couple of deagles at the very least, sometimes full deagles. And the idea behind that is that obviously with a one-tap coming into fruition, you don't necessarily need the Kevlar as much. You can just quickly get a cheeky one-tap and run away again. Unlike the CZ or a 5.7 where that aim punch is really going to wreck you. As you say there, Freiburg will go down. They did get a deagle earlier on, so Kirby's fallen by the wayside on top of that. And so a 4-4 certainly favouring Astralis, but NiP have the potential to claim this round for themselves too.
Astralis are actually going to pull back from all of the A pressure. You know, they're keeping the bomb and device in short for right now, but 2 more are about to lurk back either down into the connector or around over there towards Monster. They find themselves in a battle with Exist, and Device just plays it all mobile. So he is able to pick up that kill pretty easily down in the connector. This will split the numbers even more for NiP, but they do seem to have actually a pretty good lock on this because there's already a flank being worked in from GetRight. So they've got to be careful. If GetRight peeks out at the perfect time, he can do some good damage. The timing doesn't work out for him, but Forest finds the first kill here in the B play. Now Pitt trying to hold back off, but he's in a rough spot. Loses GetRight, and Dupree and Zipix, excuse me, not Exist. Dupree and Zipix do close out on the round.
Looking a bit hairy for a few seconds there for Astralis, but they do manage to navigate their way through to the clutch. 2 MAC-10s for the farming frenzy that is about to take part. NiP with not a single upgraded pistol. Okay, as I say that, of course, Exists and Forest proved me wrong. GetRight's going to pick up a P250 as well and 2 flashes. So minimal investment. They're going to have a solid buy in the next round, regardless of what happens here. And Astralis, pretty standard stuff for the time being. Leaving the bomb back. Waiting for a potential push. We saw GetRight in a very similar position when NiP on the T side actually sat back at T-spawn with the UMP. Astralis a bit more aggressive than that. To be fair, they do have MAC-10s as opposed to the UMP. It doesn't quite have the same ability at range as the UMP. It's one of the reasons why the UMP is considered to be, honestly, really powerful right now, plus the armor pen.
Yeah, and NiP, again, here aren't really doing anything super crazy at the beginning of the round. They're just hanging back and waiting for the eventual push to come back in. So whatever the wind may throw at them, they'll try to challenge it. They do have a nice crossspray position here if they try to push out towards long. So, you know, Kirby may find himself in a bit of an awkward moment in a second here, but he catches the first one. Doesn't account for the player sitting directly behind him, though. Where's Freiburg? Oh, no, he got hit by a flashbang from one of his own teammates, and that's going to screw him over as Kirby just picks up the second kill, happily trots his way back over there towards long, and now that he has team support coming, he'll re-push back into the site. Finally taken down after he gets his 3rd kill from GetRight, so he's easily earned his take for this round here. And even though there is still some players remaining, Device is going to come in on the flank to finish things off.
2 kills isn't too bad, though, for NiP, considering it was a minimal investment. So now here come the M4s. Do we see an AWP in the hands of Forest? I am curious. He's taken quite a while to deliberate over this decision, and there we go. He will be picking it up for himself. I mean, NiP are the kind of team that don't necessarily have to play with an AWP. They're very comfortable just going for full-on assault rifles in these kind of scenarios, but clearly Forest deciding, okay, I want to pick this up for myself, see what I can get done. Didn't have a great spawn to peek mid, so instead he'll just be throwing in a bit of utility to help his teammate of Freiburg out. He's gone into connector. And then backs away to the side. Freiburg gets a little bit of info. Will turn tail and get himself out of there as well. Dupree has eaten quite a bit of damage, down to 53. Early doors in here, around number 19.
Astralis just getting prepped now for the play into the B-bomb site for the most part here. Everybody's stacked up, getting ready for the execute. And there's a lot of players from NiP here towards it too. They did go for the usual 3-stack onto it. Getright's gonna find himself in a bad spot though as he's caught tossing a Molotov off. Gets blinded by Glaive. Xyp9x and Glaive again destroy all the defenses. That's it. There's no way Freiburg and Forest are going to attempt to retake, and we can already see that they're shuffling past long to save.
Yeah, no point even attempting for this one. It has to be said that Astralis, who had a very tenuous, difficult time on their CT side, have bounced back in the best possible way on the T half, and that's claiming 4 rounds in a row. This round absolutely will go their way. The question is, how many weapons do the CT save? And the answer seems to be 0. Forest gets baited, and Device will put him down. It stands to good reason if you see the first player on tree in a position like that both the players would be on long and trying to cover one another from separate angles. So that's why Device was so confident and certain as to where the last player was with the AWP. Very well played. 8-11.
Beautifully played there too to get the bait shot out by going for the jump up on top of the flower box. So
Yep.
makes him whiff the shot, and that gives him that 2 or 3 second opening there to be able to swing in before he recovers for his next one. Nicely played. Cleans up against NiP there, and I mean, you know, it's looking like Astralis may be able to forge their way back into it on the T side here. They brought the scoreline much closer, just 3 rounds away now from tying it up against NiP, and NiP are on an eco here, so we're not expecting anything super crazy from them. Astralis just takes it slow in the opener, and they're going to continue to do so. As long as they keep to that, I wouldn't expect NiP to upset in this current situation, especially with the investment that they bring to the table.
Yeah, and plus the fact that they've lost Forest in Connector, which is a real linchpin position, without taking too much casualties in terms of health. It's gone from bad to worse for Ninjas and Pajamas in this round. They're getting picked off from the backside. Getright is waiting forever the lurk. There's 1 kill, not able to get a second into Connector. Glaive will dispatch of him. Only the 1 kill comes in. 11-9. NiP still keep their lead, but now the deficit has been cut significantly. Just 2 rounds behind Astralis.
For NiP, the reinvestment does roll in right now, but they've yet to find an impact at all in this half. It's now been 5 rounds straight from Astralis, and they are about to tie this game up. If 1 more gun round goes in their direction here. For NiP, it's do or die time right here. You're gonna have to fight just like Optic did for control over on the last map there. This could be another unexpected recovery coming out from Astralis to a certain degree, like we had in that last map as well. So let's take a look and see now if NiP are going to be able to keep it together. Again, they do get a little bit aggressive leading up to the bathrooms here, but nothing super significant. They do have, as well, this little bit of control in the connector, and this is what was important as they boosted it up, I think. So Xyp9x is able to spot Xyp9x there to take him down. He even combos it into a second one there, too, by knocking out dupreeh. And then Forest back up at long. He finds 1 more. Finally, we see a trade coming out from Astralis, but it's of little consequence as they've lost 3, and KRB just takes out 1, retreating from the short A position.
You can really see the difference between how Astralis occupied their CT side and Ninjas and Pajamas. They've already, and I think out of the 5 rounds that we've seen, the 6 rounds we've seen, they've already occupied Connector 3 or 4 of those times. They have very much that Connector in the back of their minds, where Astralis only went in there twice, and I think one of those rounds was in an eco round, where they tried to catch NiP unaware. So I'm liking the aggression by Ninjas and Pajamas. It's allowing the likes of Freiburg, who's typically the entry fragger, to play more of an aggressive role, almost taking control from the terrorists in that same mentality. And he's doing a solid job. Kirby and Device, with a huge task ahead of them, have 4 Swedes to try and dispatch of in 30 seconds. Forest has been spotted, still retains 78 of his health. That flashbang destroying Kirby, and then Forest will clean up onto Device. 3 kills for him, 2 for Exist. NiP have got their first round on the board in their CT half, and there is a tactical pause for Astralis.
Yeah, much needed tier 2, as again they have a lot of cash flow to work with, but they do need a plan to try and shut down NiP as quickly as possible. If they can reset here, that'd be great. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to immediately break them. It may put them onto a half buy, but they did save or manage to survive there with 4 players left alive, which means the rebuys are basically just going to be for most of these guys. It's just going to be grenades and whatnot that they have to pick back up here. So they're still looking semi-decent in terms of the money for quite a few of their players, which means Astralis won't immediately get them onto a reset here if they do manage to wipe the floor clean on this 22nd round.
So let's see what comes about after this tactical pause. Decision clearly was made. Had so much fun to play with. Danes are pretty much swimming in the money. Up again for Device, who is currently at the bottom of the scoreboard, 12-16. Typically a player you're looking at to be leading the way, leading the charge for Astralis. This time Connector hasn't been taken. NiP did have the aggressive early pick from Freiburg, but decides to back away and join Forest on the A site. Bit of confrontation through Monster. Nothing really of note happening, though. Very much a slower pace round, this one, as you'd expect after a tactical timeout.
Well, not only this, too, but they did kind of get destroyed on an aggressive short A play in the last round, too, so Astralis is taking it a lot more slowly here in this part of the map. Same, I imagine, is going to be deployed in the connector. They'll figure it out now that it is wide open, but opening that door is going to be dangerous. As we can see, Exist waits on the other end of it. He's expecting direct pressure. They're just going to destack it, though. They won't take the risk of sticking around, as they can very easily just be sprayed down through the plywood if they do stick to that boost. So for now, they'll back it up, and they'll let Astralis get control of water.
I like that they prefaced it with a flashbang as well, so I think it was Kirby who was coming through there at that stage. He just made sure that he didn't get himself wrecked as soon as he came through the door. Nicely done. 40 seconds left, though. No early casualties. And a sense of desperation now starting to creep in for Astralis, who now have 30 seconds. They're going to be going through onto Monster. The flashes are connecting. It's all about these opening picks, and Zipex is going to get himself 2 of them. And a third as well. Zipex really turning it on when it counts. 20 seconds left. The bomb will get planted. And the Swedes trying to retake now 2-on-2 as Freiburg goes in and dispatches of Dupree.
It's good damage from Freiburg, and it's not only this too, but Forrest from up on top of Heaven over here was able to get quite a bit of intel in terms of where they're positioned. He knows they fell back. Zipix is a bit of a mystery, since he, in theory, could have gone back into that smoke by construction. That's where they're going to find him at the end of the day, especially after the smoke has faded. But now he's got a 1v2, and it's 2 full HP players that he has to deal with. Freiburg, though, defending his teammate, and we can see here, too, that they haven't committed themselves onto the bomb just yet. Exhibit is going to get that kill again. He catches a player with his back turned against him, and now he can just wait out the timer here. The tables have turned for the last half when he had to deal with this. He knows he's got Freiburg in the open. He doesn't have to peek it. There's not going to be enough time, and it will be Astralis winning out the round. Zipix so smart, and he ends up with a 4K on the round as well.
You just run out of things to say about Zipex and his clutching potential. The guy is an absolute mastermind in these kind of scenarios. The clarity of mind, not to get too dismayed, not to panic or anything like that. A 4K, another clutch. We need a counter at this stage, Blue, for how many clutches Zipex is going to pick up this event. I think he's already on like 7 or 8.
He's got to be closing in on 10 by this point.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
It was, what was it, 9 in the Optic match, and a good like 80% of those had to be his. So already stacking up quite a few there, and now he's just going to continue to add to the counter against NiP. Now NiP, as we can see, they tried to go for a bit of a boost up here. It was spotted, but they couldn't take Freiburg down. They couldn't find the headshot against him. So somehow he miraculously survives. And not only this, far as the bottom half of that stack managed to edge out a kill against Device.
Another solid start by the Ninjas, but only 2 smokes and 2 flashes with so much time remaining. One of those smokes has just been used. It does go in Monster, but the 2-man tag team of Zipex and Glaive have already pushed through, so that smoke isn't really doing a great deal for the Ninjas now. Down comes Freiburg, rotating very quickly. The brisk play going to be backfiring for the time being. Existed with 2 kills before he inevitably falls. Very well played. May have bought up enough time for the rest of the CTs now to get in position. The bomb dropped out on the site, and Forrest is close and nearby, and he will claim a kill onto Kirby. The execution not quite playing out the way Astralis hoped for. Now it's Dupree, who has his chance to try and clutch. Won't be happening. Ninja's Pajamas, 13-10 the lead.
Forrest had some really key positioning there in the B bomb site with the way he was playing that out, specifically towards the pit, even going into the very end there too. The last man alive for Astralis there was 100% locked on looking for him on the right side of the approach from the pit, but again, he was changing up his position so often, basically making it impossible to read, and he's certainly the hero of that one for NiP. So they've got their lead going, they keep it together, but it's still a bit shaky when you consider the money for Astralis. They're running out now, but they've been chasing this for the past 3 to 4 rounds, so they have been slowly running it out. If NiP win this one, it's going to be looking good for them to close out on the map itself, but Astralis is still able to chase them here on this one last chance before they have to eco.
It almost feels like Glaive is giving these calls, and then they just lose a player right off the bat. This time it's Dupree. Instantly, that puts Astralis into a horrible place. Glaive showing time and time again he has such a good commanding presence when it comes to these calls on the T sides of the likes of Overpass. Same on Train as well. But losing a player right off the bat, that is going to play hell with any tactics he has in mind. Still a bunch of nades to play with, but it's so much alleviated pressure from NiP now. They know that if the execute comes in, it's going to be certainly more in their favour. Looks like it's going to be more of an A-centric push for the time being through bathrooms. 3-player stack on A, and a trifecta of Swedes waiting. to spring that trap.
Yeah, and it's very, very passive on both sides of this one, too. You can see, you can draw a line in the sand between these two teams currently. No one really wanting to cross it either, but Astralis has to, as they need to get into this site and somehow win this gun round, despite the fact that they're down 5v4. Freiburg waiting at the very edge. He's going to be spotted by Device on the way in, though. That evens it out as they do move in. No other kills yet. Get Right, along with Forrest, are both held back by the smokes right now, so they're not really able to do much from within the bomb site, and we can see that. That's going to be the free plant. Forrest is trying to resist here. Smoke's gone away now, and Forrest is immediately going to chime with 1 kill, but he does lose Get Right directly after that. This is the tough retake. They are even about it in a 3v3, but they're the ones who have to get aggressive. Forrest, a nice tap-in to get the player by the flower box, but unfortunately, the flashbang discombobulates him. He stays in the open pits here, though. He's picked up 2 kills. It's down to Glaive. He's chimed in for 1, and there's 1 more to go against Exist. Trying to bait him out to figure out where exactly Exist is playing from there. And again, he taps onto the bomb. Exist has to move up to play against this, but no! Glaive swings wide, and that's going to give the round to NiP.
So smart from Exist. That patience is absurd. He waited. It's almost like he lives by the fire, dies by the fire scenario, because if you remember when he used the clutch in an identical position, he used that same idea of shoulder peeking and jumping up. And he knows how frustrating that is, so he waits for Glaive to peek, lands the headshot, clutches the round. That is unbelievable. But again, a fantastic tactic comes out, a beautiful smoke execute, and the trades go against Astralis on the site. The retake should never be possible from that position. Instead, it's 14-10 with Astralis on a bye with 3 Tech-9s.
And so, as mentioned previously, Astralis finally running out of cash flow here. They are going to be on a bit of a scrapped buy, but it seems like their pacing is already sort of increased here. They're moving in much faster to take that long control, holding back a little bit now after they do move in for this one. But NiP don't challenge at all. They're expecting crazy. They're expecting faster play from Astralis now, since their back is against the wall, and they need to fight to get away from it. It's not going to be the case, though. And again, as mentioned before, after Astralis did move in to take faster control of the entrance towards long and short, that's pretty much it. They're just holding back now to think about what they want to play towards here.
These are always how Glaive has been setting up on these T-halves. I wouldn't even put it past these 3 Tech-9s and AKs to rip through some CTs here. They get a similar kind of smoke execute down, so where Tech-9s really flourish. And I think NiP are certainly very cognizant of that fact. Again, you've got the trifecta of Swedes on the site. This time, though, the bomb's actually situated more towards the connector side of the map. Time is running scarce. It's running thin. Zipx is going to try and fake. It would appear where the rest of his team start to rotate their way around. Oh, and it has caught out a couple of the CTs. They've over-rotated. The problem is that Glaive hasn't been able to get into the site and cause any mayhem. So the over-rotation is not going to be an issue for the time being. Glaive spots the head of Forrest. He leaps up through the smoke. The bomb's going to get planted. Looking good for Astralis now to secure this round. A much needed one at that. And Dupree puts the Tech-9 to use. Exist 1 on 4. Takes down 1 player. 3 more to find and kill. And the position's looking too good for Astralis with that bomb planted.
He's got Dupree stuck on the back end there, but well, unfortunately for him, Dupree's just going to swing right out and headshot him. So Exist doesn't last very long at all in that 1v4 situation, just chiming in for the single kill. That is it. And look at NiP. Their money is also pretty much in the dumps right now, and this works out to Astralis' favor to such a huge degree. So now they're going to have to go for the save here, and that's going to let Astralis try and close the gap once again.
These kind of buys in this kind of situation would suggest that NiP could very well go for a super aggressive round. And considering they've already shown propensity to try and get into connector, it doesn't surprise me seeing Exist go there again with a 5-7. It's up close and personal. The 5-7 is tailor-made for these kind of scenarios. The smoke could give him an extra avenue of aggression if he wants to hide behind it. He is going to be spotted by Device if Device continues to push through that. But instead, Device is playing it passively.
This is trying to play around with the connector right now, but Device does not want to push that. So Exist is going to hold control. And the good news for Exist is that there's no pressure up top. So he's got 100% control down here, as long as he remains patient about this. There are going to be a lot more players also out towards water too. So the issue is that with NiP putting a lot of focus over there on the short A control is that this site is going to be wide open with the exception of Pit. Holds for that 1 headshot, but is then quickly traded back out. Exist will be taken down by Device when he finally does decide to push up to the connector as well. And that is going to be the site on lockdown for Astralis down towards B there. They will attempt to move in and do a little bit of damage on exits, but ultimately this will be the Astralis round.
Device does get shot a couple times from that Deagle. It's not enough to dispatch of him. But this is going to be the round going to Astralis, Forest, and Get Right. Slim to no chance of even getting a kill out of this one, and indeed they will not. 14-12, NiP into a position where they can't really afford a buy here, and it doesn't really make any sense to go for a buy. They have a couple more buffer of rounds. They can wait until it's 14-30 and then purchase a decent enough buy. So Astralis will be favourites to bridge that gap back to just one round deficit. When you consider that the first half went 11-4, this is already a pretty solid comeback by the Danes.
Oh, yeah, and again, this is the second time they've done it, too. They were, keep in mind how far behind they were against Optic there right at the beginning of that match, and they swung it back and actually took advantage right from the first half. Now, obviously, the deficit's a lot greater, but they've once again been able to compensate for it and bring themselves back within range here to try and, what at this point would be a bit more of an upset against NiP after they got off to such a strong start from the first half, 11-4. This comeback would certainly be impressive, to say the least. As NiP are on another eco here, they're going to have to try to do as much damage as possible. It starts off well. Exist moving in there, finding Glaive first off. And they're going to continue to apply that pressure to limit the map control that Astralis can have to work with. That's working for now, but if the guys from Astralis do group up as they're doing now, that's where it's going to get a little bit more dangerous. Dupree caught on his lonesome. He does take down Get Right, but then Exist picking up the AK now is able to trade. So this goes back down into a 3v4. Advantage to NiP, but obviously the gunpowder is still very much in the way of the T's at the moment.
It sure is, but I would say the positional advantage is actually in favour of NiP. You can see if Freiburg is going to be able to capitalise. No, he's whiffed his chance and he dies. Oh dear. I was going to say, because they got connector control, it funneled Astralis into a more bottleneck scenario through bathrooms. So if Freiburg connects that headshot in the back, you're looking at a 4-on-2, and things are going to get a lot more rough. Now, as FX Alive is able to kill Pit, 2-on-2, and that is the round now slipping away. I don't want to put too much emphasis on Freiburg's whiff there, but that could really have made all the difference.
Especially
still, it's 13-14.
If he picks that up and gets the intel a little bit earlier to buy NiP a bit more time to swing up to the bomb site, that certainly helps them out with trying to establish positions against that push from Astralis. But again, they haphazardly have to try and do it at the last moment, and it just doesn't really play out well for them. But all of this saving leads them into a very big gun round. Forest with the op, everybody else fully invested with utility and everything here too. So this could, you know, in a certain degree, this could prove to be their last stand. Saving up after this one, of course, they will be able to try and challenge and contest for OT, but the possibility of them actually outright winning in regulation, maybe slipping away if they lose this gun round and don't immediately somehow trade it back.
Kirby and Dupree, early casualties, taking a little bit of damage here and there. More of a beat stack for the time being for Astralis. Of course, they have connector controls. The reason it's so important and vital on a map like Overpass, they can quickly wrap themselves over onto the A site of the map if they so choose. Freiburg and Forest over on A. Forest, more aggressive position with the AWP. This does allow for a third player on B, as he has so much time if he spots a player coming up long to actually call out. The issue is that Bathroom has no control, so he has to be very cognizant of the fact that someone could even be moving on to the A site right now. But it's looking good for a potential pick here. It's going to be Device that peeks him. Flash once again goes in first. That forces Forest to back away to the site, and so they will lose that ground that they gained just before.
Yeah, Forrest's not actually challenging that. He just swings right back onto the bomb site and prepares for the hit. So that's Astralis with free control of the long right now to try and work their way over onto the bomb site. Other than this, though, they still need to try and get Dupree and Zipix up on top unless they just want to push with these three and try to sell a fake, which they've done before already, and it's not only going to be here. Zipix actually gets the first kill, tries to go for a second. They will be able to trade that back out, and the pressure goes away. Dupree's rotating, and they are going over here into the A bomb site. In the meantime, though, Forrest did stick around. There's the first stop shot, the bomb. They are prioritizing the plant. Glaive, though, is there and is able to catch Forrest when he peeks back out, and it's not just here. He combos himself into a second kill against Freiburg. This goes 3v2. Some of the players on Astralis are going to be a bit low, but again, it's in that perfect plant position where NiP had to be the ones that get aggressive, and they can't really do that with this HP. So this is going to be very tough for them to clutch out, if they even now go for it, which it does seem they're going to attempt to.
There's so many things working against them, though. It's not just the HP, it's the lack of nades, lack of kit. Exist goes down, and that is the round now done and dusted. Get Right is going to try and get out of that. 14-14. And NiP's economy in the gutter. Astralis could very well be on track to do it again. Get Right could very well be punished for that miss, and indeed he will. The upward with a nice little boost to a potential power play. Instead, they're going to have nothing. Do NiP want to try and force this up right now, or do they want to play for overtime? Decisions.
Seems like overtime, based on the investment.
Yeah, more of a half-buy scenario here with a bit of utility across the board.
So
Looks like we're going the distance then.
yeah, just going right down to the 2K mark. So basically giving them the bar minimum to be able to buy into that next, buy into the final round actually of regulation. There is it. We'll go all the way to round number 30 for NiP though. Of course, if they can upset here, would be great. But Astralis seem to have that confidence factor working back in their favor here, and already Xyp9x finding the first kill on the pit. KRB, no problems at all. No flashes or anything needed. He just swings right into the B bomb site and combos up for 2 kills.
I really like that though, because typically Astralis have been playing a slower pace on that T side, waiting for the executes, waiting for the smokes and the flashes to fire in. So actually just coming out raw without any flashes, it doesn't telegraph that push, and it allows him to use his lightning fast reaction speed and that entry fragging power to come into fruition. It's against pistols, of course, so you can't really say it was the most glorious of CS, but still, it is effective. friberg nearly bags himself 2 kills with the Deagle. It would have just been a drop in the bucket, though. And it will be 15-14. This is the first time that Astralis have been in the leads, if memory serves me correctly. I don't think they've been in the lead the entirety of this map until now.
I think they tied it once or twice, but this is the first time they've actually taken the full lead against NiP. So bringing it back, and obviously again, those last 2 on NiP dying on the save doesn't really matter. They were going to force into this round anyway, unless they picked up a gun and tried to save or something like that. That's where it probably would have counted, but not in this case. As we can see, full investment across the board. No op, unfortunately. They will be limited to that degree, so it's only M4s. A lot of kits, a lot of utility, so they have that. But again, they've had this before too, and it hasn't been too successful as Astralis have been able to push past it time and time again. I imagine that they'll take a seat back here a little bit more, Astralis is, and still try to play things a little bit more passively. Now they are going up against that gun power, but it's still been working for them throughout most of this half, and at the moment they don't have a reason to worry.
Again, no ops in play for either team. Seems they're both much more comfortable with assault rifles. Plus, NiP couldn't really afford it anyway, even if they wanted to. Already a distinct lack of nades as they've been expended at the start of the round. 3 flashes in the pockets of the ninjas. Already very aggressive play from Device. He's up in long, just behind the smoke. He is pretty much by himself, however, with Glaive coming in through the bathroom side. 4-player stack on A from NiP.
And they're going to try to push out against it too. I'm not sure if friberg saw Glaive or not, but he's going to be falling back pretty quickly, as all the utility from NiP is now gone, and Astralis did nothing to provoke this either. Molotov, I think Device missed that one, as he's burning the picnic table up on top there. It's not too much usefulness. Exists though from this corner, he does sneak in 1 kill against Glaive, but he trades onto his teammate. KRB peeking back out from the connector there is going to be able to find this one. Device sneaking back down. He's going to have to try to help up with the B play. The remaining members of NiP are split up 2-2 across the map right now. But dupreeh is going to send himself in initially. Hit holds, though. He's able to pick up that kill against dupreeh. They're now down a man. They have to try to make it back. There we go. There's the kill from Xyp9x to try and do that. 8 seconds left to try and plant the bomb, and KRB's going for it right now. But this is the time for NiP to strike. They push back in. They won't be able to stop the plant. KRB escapes with that. But friberg's here, giving pressure to KRB on Heaven, stopping him from peeking out and stopping these pit players. And they do all go down at the end of the day. So NiP is going to take this all the way to round number 30 and tie it up at 15-15, which means we're going to overtime, ladies and gentlemen, to decide this map.
A huge hold there by Ninjas and Pajamas. Get right with 2 massive frags, and yeah, we will be heading to overtime. Astralis certainly getting the better of that T half. Both teams, honestly, had stronger T halves than CT halves. Some of that came down to economy, which won't play as much of a factor in overtime. Of course, if you do lose the first couple of rounds, you kind of screwed as the CTs, but you're going to have rifle rounds right off the bat. So be curious to see how they turn things around. I want to see if Astralis do try some more connector control, though. I think NiP got a lot of early success, at the very least, with that. Things started to move away from them. I think Glaive, though, honestly, some of the calls that he was making were massive there for Astralis to get back into this one.
Yeah, and it's certainly done that. Like we said, down 11-4 at the half, and they managed to reverse that scoreline against NiP to take this to OT. Unfortunately, not able to close it out directly in regulation time, but now we will go to it. Maybe. As a member of Astralis is disconnected. Technical issues, I'm assuming, or...
I would think so. Not entirely sure. I'm having a look at chats. They're going to the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
So they have it.
That explains it. Yeah, Astralis it didn't even really seem like they took much of a break after that last game, so I think they jumped right into this one after like just a brief 2 or 3 minute probably pep talk. So maybe just needing to take a moment, I imagine. As we will be jumping in overtime. And as far as I'm aware, overtime rules should be fairly standard at this event. I'm expecting just 10k MR3. I don't think there's been any change-ups with regards to that, so there shouldn't be any curveballs thrown at you guys at home. Which is basically what you expect for OT in most tournaments.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Just waiting for the fifth player for Astralis to get himself back before we can get this underway. But yeah, it's also impressive that even though Astralis have not been playing the same caliber of CS as we've seen over the last couple of months, they're still in a position where they came back from an 11-4 deficit, and that really is the marking of a champion. You know, you grind the wins out even when you're not all performing at 100%. You saw that against Optic and the Ninjas, who looked so dominant in that first half. To lose out from an 11-4 lead, honestly, is quite surprising, even though it is Astralis that we're talking about, because it just didn't seem like they were all, you know, pulling in the right direction.
Yeah, and again, we saw, you know, the momentum carried over from the previous map. Still, some of the members of Astralis kind of struggling a little bit here, but the big stories, again, have really shown up today with mainly Xyp9x coming out with some very, not only skillful plays, but very smart plays too, specifically when you have that 4K, and then didn't even go for the ace, you know, where normally you're just going to, oh, might as well take this. No, he sits back, he plays it cautiously in that situation where he's left in a 1v1 in the bomb on the ground there, basically just waits up the timer, doesn't take a risk on losing the actual duel, and instead just plays it down and plays for the win, which is, again, very team-focused player, very smart player, and again, it's skillful as well, as we saw back over on the last map, and in many examples here too, where he's been able to find the impact, assist with his team on the usual takes and whatnot, and then if he needs to, he can clutch out. He's been the clutch king today.
I think that's been one of the markings of Xyp9x for quite some time, is that he does have the skill, but what mainly rules him is just his great game sense, awareness, and clarity under fire. You know, he's the kind of guy, if he's in a 1v1, 2v2 clutch, you expect him to come out on top, just the way he's playing. CS right now, it's on another level when it comes to clutches. Like, you saw a couple of times on Train in particular, where in a 2-on-1 he actually let a player go past him, which could have easily backfired, but in order to do so, he was able to actually get the clutch because he got round into a position that the CTs would the terrorists, pardon me, would never expect. So it's just incredible CS from him. He's 25 and 18 right now, so he's clearly just fragging well on top of everything else. But I think we're getting the players back on the server. Looks like they're starting to connect. There we go. We've got all 10 players back.
Just needed a moment.
Let's get the show back on the road.
Yeah, let's hopefully we can get back into it. For whatever reason, the players have really high ping, but I'm assuming that will be fixed in a second. Yeah, that's going down slowly, so that should be resolved. And as soon as they've readied up, we'll jump into OT here and see who is actually going to take control of this one. All right, let's get to it. And as said before, it's 10k MR3. To anyone new to CS, basically what that means is it's 6 rounds total. There's 2 halves of it still. You start off with 10k every 3 rounds. You need to win at least 4 out of a sequence of 6 rounds to win the map. If the teams tie 3-3, it resets and you start it all over again.
Yeah, so basically 19 the magic number in his first overtime. First team to 19 will win. If not, we do it all over again until there's a winner. And of course, Astralis have already claimed the win. I didn't quite catch it. Did NiP win their first game as well?
Yeah, I wasn't able to check the stats either, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, well, obviously we were busy casting ourselves. So almost a winner's match, I guess you could say, as Dupree is going to eat the early damage through the door of Connector. And that's free damage as well. NiP don't lose anything in the process of that. Mollies and smokes being exchanged, and Glaive does land a headshot into Forest, leaving Freiburg all alone for the time being.
I was curious as well, because meanwhile downstairs here, we can see that the door took quite a bit of damage, and Dupree actually ended up getting dinked by someone there. Pit, though, sneaking in a kill into a somewhat curious Xyp9x, who moves his way over into water to investigate exactly what was going on there. It'll be Pit that finds the frag in this case. We go down to a 4v4, but all of a sudden Pit tries to move out through Monster here, and he meets his match against a very aggressive push from Astralis. Now, they're going to get full control leading up to the B-bomb site. Exista waiting on the other end here. This is an aggressive position considering they're down a man, but if he can impact, more power to him. It works out great. Finishes off a very low Dupree, and they're even again now, and it almost seems like Astralis are a bit unsure about how they want to play this, as they send the bomb reeling back over here into the top tunnels to figure out how exactly they want to play this. They've only got 30 seconds to this. They need to make a decision very soon.
Seems the decision has been made, considering that Glaive up through Connector, and now the bomb is transitioning through the bathroom side. Smokes, flashes, mollies, Freiburg still standing tall, losing minimal amounts of health, and this is looking good now for the Ninjas. Glaive is the last to fall. leaving it a bit late. NiP will pounce on top of that, regaining the lead once again. As to be fair, they have been out in the lead for the bulk of this map. So familiar territory for them.
And this also keeps their economy in a good spot, too. There is, again, for anyone that may be a little bit newer here, there is that risky spot for CTs, because usually their buys tend to be a bit more expensive, to where if they invest too heavily in the first round, then they'll end up on just upgraded pistols with armor behind it for the third round if they lose the second one as well. But by winning the first one, for the most part, they should be able to avoid that, that slip up there. Whereas the T's usually don't have to deal with that to such a large degree anyway. They can at the very least force buy into it. But it's going to be Caribbean finding the first kill in this one, moving in, eliminating Freiburg right from the get-go of things. So it's Astralis again that start off with the advantage, but now they actually have to capitalize upon it.
Also, I'm going to make a correction. Obviously, myself and Blue were casting, so we didn't know this, but actually Fnatic won against NiP 16-14. So NiP have already lost one game. Desperate for a recovery here against Astralis. Again, they do have the advantage, but in this round, they have conceded first blood. As Freiburg, who has been quite instrumental, is the player to fall alongside Forrest, who did get a trade before falling. Here comes Get Right with Dawn, and a second massive place by him before he gets traded out. 2-on-2, Zipex and Device. And again, it is the Clutch King.
Yeah, Zipex actually finding Zipnix. Or Zipix. Wow, I'm getting really confused. Sorry. Zipix finding Exist back over here by the bathrooms early on, but it's actually Device that gets the kill from long against Pit. So now it's just Exist, and he does not have the greatest position to play from, unfortunately. The Molly, he sits in it as well. So now he's going to be brought down to 14 HP. Nades going in, trying to dodge everything. The whole world poised against him currently. And with 14 HP, he won't have the best ability to peek out. And the second he does, Device is there to shut it down. The traded round comes right back in for Astralis, and, well, we go 16-16.
I was looking good there when Get Right got the double spray, but yeah, Exist was certainly amongst it. All even. FAMAS in for Pits. Last round of this half of overtime. And considering that both teams had a much better T-half in regulation, if NiP could get the lead, it would be in a really good position. Again, though, a lot of those T-rounds did come down to a fluctuating economy. That won't be as prevalent an issue in overtime. And Glaive is going to be very low, and Dupree is 6 for under. Great start again for NiP. Haven't lost really that much health either in the process. Still have nades. Astralis, a lot of pressure on them, but the spray through the smoke. We'll see Zipex landing onto Pit. All even once again.
Kirby's sitting at the edge of a construction smoke, too, if he wants to try and press against this. I think he's behind sandbags currently. So no additional pressure being applied to the B-bomb site for right now, but they do have all of the borders of it secured to try and push back in. However, there's also a lot of players shifting up through connector, but the bomb is still, you know, very well placed downstairs at the moment, ready to roll itself into the B-bomb site at a moment's notice. But it's basically equated across the map. As you look at it, 2 T's on either side of the map and 2 CTs on either side of the map. They're playing into this evenly. Exists no panic at all as he gets hit with a flashbang either.
Blue, I just seen in chat there, I know you don't have it up, Exist apparently is timed out.
Oh.
NiP have typed that in chat, and Astralis did reply, so that is incredibly unfortunate. I think a frag had already gone down, so it's going to be an interesting decision, but I think they're going to play this on regardless, and that is brutal for NiP. If Exist did time out, that is an absolute catastrophe as far as they're concerned. It was all even, 17-16.
Yeah, so again, usual rule of thumb for these kinds of things, usually applies to online matches, but obviously I imagine it carries over to LAN matches too, is if there is contact, if there is a fight, or if someone takes damage before, you know, the team calls that they are having an issue or something like that, then normally the round still sticks, unfortunately. So obviously the admins will take a look at that. We won't assume anything until we hear a word from the admins, but for right now it is kind of an open case currently.
Yeah, they're keeping an eye on the chat just to see what happens, but I think that round will count. That's my first instinct, at least.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. I've been seeing this a lot recently. Unfortunately, this is like the 3rd time in a week I've seen this happen. It happened in the Pro League about a week ago too. And it kind of screwed over Immortals when it happened because they lost like their whole team because I think someone tripped like the internet in the house or something like that, and it happened in a way too to where it was like a really important gun round towards the end of the match, and basically like everyone disconnected right after they had already lost the T-sided rounds. They already got like 0 bonus. And then they disconnected and they dropped all their guns too, so it really mucked them up. They ended up coming back and winning though, so good for them. But obviously we'll have to wait and see how it could affect this game if that did end up screwing over exists there.
Yeah, I mean there aren't much worse times to get that to happen. You're in an overtime at 16 each. It's a 4-4, I think it was around that mark, and
Yeah.
he's playing Monster, and they're about to hit B. I mean, it really doesn't get too much more brutal than that happening at that particular moment. But obviously, we are waiting for Exist to get back on the server so we can get this back underway. Still keeping an eye on chat. Doesn't seem like the players are discussing this, at least in chat. Maybe they're talking to admins at the event. I'm not sure. For those of you that aren't aware, by the way, myself and Blue are casting from home. We're not at Katowice.
Yeah, I'm
as
on,
awesome as that would be.
I'm in probably the literal other side of the world
Yeah.
from where the event is taking place. So
Yeah, Blue's in LA, I believe, right? And obviously I'm still in England, so we are unsure as to what's going on inside the event right now. So we'll update you as soon as we find out. For the time being, though, it's going to be another brief, I'm hoping, delay.
And just to keep people in the loop too, in terms of what we're doing, as the stream schedules did get a little bit mucked up with the delay that we had on the first game there. As far as I've been informed, we're going back to the schedule after this one. We just had to skip over the FaZe versus Immortal one. But again, we should be going back to Optic versus Immortals after this, and then follow through with our regular schedule, which will be Optic versus Fnatic, NiP versus FaZe, NiP versus Immortals, and then the last 1 or 2 matches, depending on if we need to play tiebreakers, are kind of up in the air. So we'll update you as we get further into the day with how exactly we're going to present that here on this stream, and probably on the main stream as well. But while this gets resolved, guys, I think we're going to throw it over to a break really quickly. So stick around, and as soon as we figure out what exactly is happening, we'll bring it back. All right, so we're back into it now, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like the round did stick, so a bit unfortunate, obviously, but rules are rules. So Astralis is going to hold the lead going into the second half. We're already into it. Meta's take it away while I fix some stuff with the stream.
Cool. Yeah, 17-16. There's going to be a lot of unhappy Swedes out there, but as Blue said, rules do need to stick in place. Does really suck, though. The circumstances really couldn't be a whole lot worse, but NiP, who had a great half in regulation, will be looking to bounce back with a vengeance, with authority. Three players in connector, with both Get Right and Forest on the outsides. Wow, nothing really to write home about in this round so far. Pretty standard stuff. 3-2 formation for Astralis with 2 on the B side, leaving Kirby and Glaive on A. Kirby has taken a bit of damage early on alongside Pitt and Freiburg, but nothing too worrisome for either of them. Minute to play with.
For NiP, it looks like most of them are just going to be happy with sticking over here to the answer shorty, making a whole lot of noise, though. So certainly going to be throwing some of the players on Astralis off over here towards the A-bomb site to try and get ready to hold against some sort of an A play, which is certainly looking likely. I mean, everybody from NiP downstairs has already rotated up here towards the short entryway. They're getting ready for this. They're getting ready for this to be a push inside. They still have kept 2, obviously, downstairs on B just to be safe. But NiP have certainly not done a lot to try to sell it in the other direction, so they're going to be ready for this big push that's about to roll into the site right now.
Well, there's no nades to play with. 20 seconds left. Flashes are being exchanged between the two teams. Still a Molotov and a HE. theScore is going to claim the first kill in this round. And it's all going the way of the CTs, Exist and Forest. With 12 seconds in which to try and clutch. I think Exist did hear footsteps from Kirby, but he just simply doesn't have the time to double check that one. Going to go for the plant instead. Kirby's going to go for the peak. It's really a case of who gets the kill, and it will be theScore. 2 rounds in which Astralis need to convert just one of them to win this second map.
Yeah, and now Astralis with the match point working out potentially into their favor here. We will see NiP's potential last stand against this. The investment thankfully still there since we're only in the second round, and they're going to go big for this one. Forest picking up an op this time. Whereas the team obviously still fully invested into it, but for Astralis, specifically looking at theScore, he tried to play aggressively. Good flashbang placement early on from NiP, though. He's going to push him back pretty quickly.
Forest does have an open to this round. theScore, who had a fairly slow start, is starting to pick up a bit of steam now. Already, Get Right is outside in the water. Short could be aggressed on from Dupree, could be into the embracing arms of the Lurker. But now going through connector will be NiP. Maybe looking to rinse and repeat from the last round. They'll need to get a move on, though. They left it a bit too late last time. Didn't have enough nades to really make the most of that push. Already going through into the bathroom side.
Yeah, the rest of NiP just keeping themselves quiet. They were loud about it last time. Get Right, though, his patience over here in water ends up working out. I mean, you've seen him. He's been up on this little pedestal here for the past, like, 30 seconds or so, just waiting for someone to push him. He's making a whole lot of noise. He'll get the 1 kill, but then on a repeat against theScore, he is knocked out pretty quickly after this, so it goes down to a 4v4. The rest of NiP, well, they are ready to deploy down over here towards the A-bomb site, but again, they throw utility in, and they don't necessarily try to keep things very secretive at all. So Astralis are going to know that they're on the way.
Actually, a molly that really does wreck Freiburg. Wanted to join the rest of his team. He is killing the guy you want going in first. Bomb dropped out. Astralis have the advantage once again for a few more moments. Here comes Exist, trying to pull it back in the favour of the Swedes. Glaive, Kirby, theScore trying to spam through the boxes, doing minimal damage to Freiburg. Still an AWP in play for both teams. Forest and theScore have one respectively. All 3 remaining CTs coming from the same area. No worries about rotations through the backside. That flash racking Glaive and theScore. Wasting valuable seconds. Forest does capitalize on that one. 2-1-2 now. The positions from NiP are pretty solid to stop this. Defuse and Exist goes for the peak. He's going to get more than a second. NiP survive for one more round. Can they take us into second overtime?
You can disconnect him from the server, but you're not going to disconnect him from the match. Exist is back, and he shows up with some big performance. Now over 30 kills here in overtime, sitting at 33 and 23 right now. Saving NiP yet again. And now has put them up towards the last round here to try and take this a double OT. And initially, again, it's going to be a very decisive push from NiP. Still split, obviously, but a lot of players moving in to take fast control over towards the connector. And then just kind of hesitantly holding in playground and whatnot in case Astralis tries to get aggressive again.
The last 2 rounds have been late A hits. I was curious if maybe NiP would mix it up. Astralis went for that themselves, and they went very slow, then suddenly they just went for a rapid round, and it caught NiP under movement. I'm very much unaware. But he's going to be slow again. Toying with the emotions of Astralis. Up through connector. Almost an identical round to the last one. We'll get right on the B side. The rest of the team trying to force their way up through bathrooms.
Yeah, it's been very straightforward from NiP to say the least now about this T side here. There hasn't been a lot of creativity coming into it, but it doesn't look like this may not end up falling through in the same way that some of the previous rounds have here in OT, and where they have gone for the stack outside of the bathrooms and then deployed into long and short. The bomb, as you can see right now, is working its way back downstairs. The big issue for NiP, if they do decide to change this to a B play, is there's very aggressive control for Astralis right now down over here towards water. So they're going to have to brawl even before they get to the bomb site just to try and take control. That's a crucial missed shot from Device, though. He goes down, and there's no room for a trade on Dupree's end. He's very off-angled towards it, and he's going to get flashed on the way in. So Freiburg catches that kill. Xyp9x with one trade, but he's countered out by Forrest directly after that. Now we're in a 4v2, and NiP almost have free control over here, with the exception of, obviously, Kirby up in heaven, but Forrest is going to manage that as well. Glaive has to pull off a 1v4, or we're going double OT.
As good as Glaive is, I just can't see how this one goes his way. And there's Pit with the kill. NiP do level us back. I'm sure a lot of people or neutrals will think that's maybe karma kicking in. So a fresh slate has been put down. Second overtime. And now the magic number 22.
Yeah, so everything will reset, and again, just waiting for the players to ready up, and we should jump directly into the next overtime, as things will go over to the second here. No winner to be seen yet. These teams still too far evenly matched, going back and forth. And in a certain way, the disconnect could have reinvigorated NiP, giving them a bit of a want for revenge after having fate cast against them. Now they have to fight back against it, and it seems to have worked quite well, at least for Exist, as he came up with his 2 big kills at the end of the second last round. And then the pretty dominant, actually, 6th round that we saw there. There wasn't a lot of contention on Astralis' part at all. They kind of crushed it.
So, as you mentioned, slate wiped clean. All back on the table again. Look at the aggression from Astralis. 3 players up. They're going to get it with 2 opening picks. Device nearly on point to get a second one. Forrest, the only player from NiP to actually pick up and open his account in this round. He's going to do it twice. And a third time as Device comes looking out and gets his head destroyed. And considering that Astralis got the 2 opening picks, this would be a crazy round for NiP to salvage.
Forrest coming out with these big taps. Beautiful stuff from him. And now we go 3v2. Astralis are split as well. Dupree and Xyp both playing from different spots right now. Xyp trying to hug the close corner to contact and sort of surprise the NiP if they go for a long A execute. And Dupree obviously just looking for the long-range monster battle. It seems like everything's going to go into Xyp9x's hands, so he's been the clutch master before, and he's going to have to clutch it out again. And what may end up, actually, one of the bombs a bit floaty here. Could go either way. Have that smoke ready to reposition himself if it bloomed out in his direction, but I think he's going to be okay. But this position's been used quite a lot in this map, so it wouldn't surprise me if Forrest goes for the check onto it. He's low, though. This will be the easy kill for Xyp if he tries to go for it here. And as they do swing out, Xyp9x grabs that one against Forrest. Smoke to give him a little bit more room to maneuver. But also, at the same time, GetRight has regrouped with the main pushing force. But Xyp9x doesn't care. He's going to push through his own smoke, moves in, takes down Xyp9x, and he's got a hole left in it as well, so that he can destroy GetRight when he goes for the peak. Xyp9x, so smart, and such a crucial player for Astralis in these 2 matches so far. He does it again as he clutches out that 1v3 all on his own.
Xyp9x is man-mounted today for Astralis. In all of these clutch scenarios, he just comes out in pole position. Unbelievable. NiP, they've got a lot to answer for there losing that round, but take nothing away from Xyp9x. That was mad. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. He's top fragging on the server. Exist is just 1 kill behind him as Freiburg and Device flirting with one another in connector. Neither player falls. Not that much health was lost in a trade either. But man, that's got to play hell with NiP's mentality right now. That was a must-win round after Forrest picked up 3 in a row.
And so, well, things are going to be tossed into the fray yet again to start off this half of OT. As Device sits back this time, waiting for the aggression to span out from NiP towards him over here on short A. There's no actual pressure at all from the CTs here on long, though, so Forest, probably a bit confused, is walking up to the site, just trying to investigate. There's nobody watching for this flank. He's going to move in, finds that first kill. Kirby takes him a minute to actually figure out what's going on. A bit cautious for a third player, but he just opened up a pathway for his teammates to push in for free to the site.
It seems this game may be lasting a little while longer. Back and forth throughout. Both teams exchanging haymakers. Zipex still alive, and whether Zipex is away back into this one. Goes for the peek and lands the shot onto Forest. It's still a deficit against the Danes, but it has been brought back a little bit more in their favour. Zipex nearly gets his head ripped off on the approach. Solid positions have been taken from NiP. Dupree with only 25 health on that peak. Pit is going to land a frag onto Glaive. That should be the round laid to rest. Dupree's going to keep it interesting for a little while longer. Not really enough time, though, to get this defuse in.
They don't.
So NiP will get this back to a 19-all.
They just don't have the map control or really the utility to try to get back into that site. I mean, the first kill from Dupree, okay, he opens up the flank, but there's still not enough room to be able to get back in there. Pit, little close for comfort there, so he actually does die to the bomb explosion, but obviously in OT, that's a very little consequence.
Being able to save those weapons, though, is pretty important for Astralis. Let's see here, though. They're going to be depleting all of their funds, pretty much. So we've seen NiP go for a lot of connector plays on the T side, occupying onto the A side of the map. And we're going to see that again here. It's looking likely to start things off with at the very least. And Astralis, again, haven't shown too much interest in trying to take connector control for themselves.
Yeah, it's just been NiP. I mean, we saw this in regulation too, as NiP was basically just a lot of walk-upping and connector control, keeping the options open for them across the map. Astralis, you know, with the exception of your average push into bathroom or water every once in a while, have been playing a very, very passive CT side on this map, and that has remained the case even now going into OT, as we've seen here. So still just playing it back to the sites. Obviously, Device, a little bit more push forward here to try to get an early scout onto some of the plays that are working over here towards the bomb site. And he's going to edge out a kill from it too. So he's able to pick up Forest. Didn't spot anyone else from it, though. So no overreaction just yet. We won't see any rotates called in.
"50 seconds left. Bomb now making a move over to the B side. Try and congregate with Get Rights, who is already laid in wait. Now I'm going to be facing against Zipex and Dupree if they push in the next few moments. Kirby's up on the site. They don't have anyone in heaven to look down either, so it is going to be a 3-on-2. And if this execute comes to fruition, meanwhile, Exist is out all by his lonesome. He's going to have to take quite a while to wrap himself and join the rest of his team. The damage could have already been inflicted by that point. Smokes into heaven, keeps that from being an issue, but here comes the trade. It's going to go Astralis' way. Zipex again with 2 kills. So impactful. And herein lays the issue. Exist wasn't with the rest of his team, so he comes in last, and he will be the last to fall in the round. 20-19.
Astralis with the lead. They will now have the advantage going into the second half here. Keep in mind, guys, the magic number, I believe, is 22, right? Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
22 is going to be our magic number to actually win the match. If you want to try and take it to triple OT, you're going to want at least 21. So Astralis only need to win 1 to secure the triple OT. 2 out of the 3 here will get them the actual victory.
Interestingly enough, both teams elect to not take an AWP. Full assault rifles.
I mean, that makes sense, considering the performances we've seen so far, right?
Yeah. I think Device has been struggling with the AWP. Forest has had a few picks, but nothing really extraordinary. So, and both teams are happy enough to just run with rifles. It's not like their AWP is a terrible rifles. Like Forest, very good with the rifle. Device certainly can hold his own as well. Plus, it also means that when you get through to the latter stages, this overtime, if it goes the distance, the economy is going to play less of a factor because you haven't invested so much money into an AWP.
Yeah, not only this too, but I mean, like some of the taps and just how proficient Forrest was looking in the past couple rounds with the AK. It's certainly looking like the better gun for him at the moment, so can't blame him at all for wanting to stick to the rifle. The M4, obviously, in this case, not the one on the CT side, but still, same basic principle. As Astralis will move in, and it's actually pretty light from NiP down here in the connector this time. They've been a bit more aggressive to hold this before. And the timing, actually, here, is we did see this little mini boost inside of the connector. Almost worked out to edge out Pith, but he was caught, or he wasn't caught, I should say, crossing back over here towards construction. He's able to escape freely over there to the B bomb site, and he gets away. So no one meeting each other just yet. So all remain quiet on the battlefield, although that may change now over here from Long. It's going to be Forrest catching Device, going for the second one here, but nope, the trade comes out from Kierby, and we go down to a 4v4. Time getting low, though, and Astralis is going to go for a fast play here and towards A.
Needs to be careful, though, because there is a decent crossfire being set up. They exist. Round on the side, he's going to bag himself to kill into Dupree. Not able to get a second one, but has the damage already been inflicted? No, maybe not. 20 seconds left. And Zipex again is going to step up for another couple kills. So he's in another clutch. Can he get yet another one under his belt? Get right falls down. Not like this, ninjas. You can't afford to lose this round once again. And it's going to come down to Pitt against Zipex. He's going to go for the plant. He's going to hold on firm. With 4 seconds left, it gets finalized. Pitt has been spotted. A flash is going to come up with a peek behind it. Pitt comes back out into the open again. And then Zipex is still alive and kicking enough to make this a real nightmare for NiP. Pitt does have a kit. And has he just spotted? No, he just looks away at the wrong possible second. The worst second. But he's going to hold on to the defuse. He's got this. What a strange round, but NiP have picked it up.
Zipex, for the first time, I think, in total so far today, he has actually lost a clutch, where it's almost seemed like he could not be defeated in 1vx scenarios. But finally, he's been smited, this time by Pitt, due to an overestimation about if Pitt would actually stick at that plant or not. The thing is, though, is you can't really blame him for that. Almost every other time he was put in a situation like that, when they planted in front of the dice box and he would retreat into the bathrooms, they almost always tried to play it out to the time. Specifically, there was the one very crucial round where Exist specifically did that, and he ended up winning the round as he baited Glaive into a wide peek. So, considering the mindset from NiP before that, can't really be blamed. But a spur-of-the-moment decision from Pitt to stick the plant works out beautifully. And now they're going to get aggressive and try and crush Astralis right here. Device and Dupree, though, they bring it back, and they trade those kills in to put this into a 4v3 at the beginning of the round.
Again, 22 rounds is what both teams are aiming for. Right off the bat, Astralis have the advantage. Again, the Molotov is a little bit too deep. It's not going to deter Forrest from watching the short side from water. But Astralis have other ideas anyway. They're already moving on to the A side. Freiburg has a huge task ahead of him if they do decide to execute. But they're having cold feet. Going back again into connector. Astralis keeping their options open. They don't want to commit to anything just yet.
Okay. Freiburg kind of...
Nice dink there. Freiburg's like, what, mate?
Yeah, Freiburg's like, okay, that makes sense. Don't even know if he was looking for him in that situation, but he gets brought down to 66 HP, and well, now they're going to fight for the control of the B bomb site. Getting traded back and forth, but Forrest still holds the line. It's Dupree in a 1v2. He knows where Forrest is. I think Freiburg peeked him a moment ago too, so we should know where they both are. It's hunting down Forrest. That's the key one. Gets that one and the second one. And Dupree coming out with a 1v2 clutch. Puts Astralis in the lead and one more round away from closing out the map.
So another match point. I think they've already had 2 at the very least. So this is number 3. Can they get it done? It's also pretty rough by a couple of UMPs. Does afford them more nades though. So as far as scrappy buys go, this is one of the better ones you're going to see. Full AKs on the side of Astralis. That smoke not quite able to cover the entirety of the staircase, so Freiburg's not even going to bother with it. Couple play stack again in connector, going back to what we saw get them so many rounds earlier on. The spray comes through with the UMP, they get right, can't get a second. Astralis again will take the lead, but only for a few seconds. It's short-lived. Pitt lances back before he finds himself on the receiving end of a battering. Freiburg and Exist to save NiP in a 3-on-2, and Exist with another spray down before he drops to a Zipex. 1-on-1 again. This time, Zipex is up against Freiburg.
And so now Zipex will have to clutch again. It's a lot easier this time, though, in the 1v1. He's got a lot of utility to play with, but Freiburg already knows where his opponent's position. It's not going to work as well in the other direction here. Thankfully for Zipex, he still has the bomb under his control. He still has a minute left on the clock, so basically an infinite amount of time in CS terms to play with here. He just has to sit back for a moment, and he's going to play this cautiously. Hoping to try and bait, actually, Freiburg. If he can play that sort of a mind game there. You saw him closing the door. If he could do that kind of a mind game to bait Freiburg into peeking, it would have been beautiful, but I don't think he's going to take it. At the moment, he's just sticking in CT main, expecting Zipex to actually get aggressive and push him.
When it comes to players you want in this position, there aren't many that you'd put over Zipex. He is quite the clutch master. He has nades to play with. They're throwing that smoke onto the site and planting behind the sandbags. But Freiburg has called this one. Is he going to see Zipex peeking up there? UMP at this range is absolutely savage, especially considering that Zipex only has 52 health to play with. But he's made a move towards Graffiti. He gets spotted, though. Freiburg definitely saw a pixel, and I feel like if he had a kit, he'd full defuse from this point. That's the unfortunate set of circumstances for him. Going to throw out the Molotov and go for that defuse. Zipex is going to be peeking from heaven. Oh, what a shot from Freiburg to the head. And he has enough time to defuse. We're going to another overtime.
Oh my goodness. They bring it back after having to deal with a technical difficulty into double OT. And now they not only do it again, but they're going to do it for a third time here. NiP brings it back once more as they were on the cusp of losing the game yet again. It's always been Astralis getting to match point first, but NiP somehow continues to bring it back. Triple overtime now. Still no winner in this matchup, as again it's become a bit of a contest here now between who can have more clutches here. Is it Zipex or Exist that comes up? It's the battle of the X's in a way here, and this time Freiburg shows up in a big way with a beautiful headshot at long range in the UMP, the mini rifle as has now been called, and it allows NiP to survive.
25 is the number that both teams are now aiming for. Oh man. I mean, we said it would be a marathon of matches today. This match within itself is feel like a somewhat of a marathon, Blue.
Yeah, we're about 4 hours in and we haven't even finished our second match yet, just for the record. So the games have proven to be quite lengthy today, but they've been good at that. Obviously our first one with Optic playing Astralis there, and now NiP's brought just as much of a treat playing against Astralis here. So Exist actually finds an early kill this time around here. He's going to be contributing to that from up on top, obviously, catching one of the members of Astralis getting a bit too aggressive, a little bit too early, but this was the only A player they had. Everybody else had gone downstairs early on, either obviously over here towards Water or over towards Graffiti. So the full bulk of the team and their eventual execute is still very well formed at this point.
It's been so much marathon, I think I just said fields. Nice London, mate. Top kick. Right, Glave's down to 37 anyway. NiP, you know, they're proving to be able to hang on and be a tenacious bunch of players. Stack outside of B, we'll see Astralis trying to set up for a play. Flashes, not quite on point enough to dispatch of Get Right. He gets the trade, and there's Exist as well. He's incredibly low alongside Pit. There was a chance there to maybe force the way out onto the B side. Device in a 1-on-2. Does have control of the bomb. And 35 seconds, but he has no idea where these last two CTs are, and he finds out first hand to Freiburg's hands. NiP edge ahead once again.
Yeah, so this is like this. I think it was NiP that started off with the advantage in some of our last ones here too. So it's been a very much a repeat of history as we go again and again and again back into the fray here. Cannot declare ourselves a full winner yet, and the frag totals continue to climb here too. Just taking a look, giving some perspective to things. We have now, I think, 4 or 5 players over 30 frags at this point. One player over 40 frags in the case of Zipex at 43 and 25. So certainly some of the big guns showing up to the table here, but it's going to be Kirby that finds the first kill this time, and a bit of an over-investigative Freiburg is knocked back out, but as we do see Dupree try to push his way from the connector, Forrest is there to punish that one as well.
Another even trade to kick the round off. This game could not be any closer. Tasty shot by Kirby onto Get Right. Had no chance to dodge out on that death. Quick rotation through Zip. On connector, Forrest will get himself yet another kill, but again it's traded back and forth throughout this entire match. Has been seemingly the way that things have gone. This does put Exist in a tenuous position. Down he goes to the hands of Zipex. Pit in a 1-on-2. This is asking a hell of a lot from the newest recruit. Although he has been a member of NiP for ages, to be fair.
Yeah, he's been on the team for quite a while now, actually. So Pit is going to try to swing his way up. Thankfully, well, somewhat thankfully, players are back, so they're not going to get the read on him instantly. But still, Zipex swinging back out. They have to note that he's somewhere playing close up, and they've just confirmed his position there with that swing from Zipnik. So now Pitt's gonna have to try to play this out. But again, this is always nigh impossible to try and clutch that out unless you get really lucky, or the peaks from the T's are very over aggressive there. So very little chance that he was gonna win that one to begin with, and things go pretty much as expected. Astralis is now gonna tie it back up again as we go into the third round, the final round of this first half of our third overtime.
For those of you guys that are spamming like camera tours and stuff, keep in mind Blue's streaming, observing, and casting at the same time.
Yeah.
Cut him some slack, bros.
The auto director is not really working out. I'm trying to turn on auto director whenever I'm casting and then actually observe when you're casting, but it's not the best system, to say the least.
I've done it myself. It's not easy. It definitely is not easy. There's a reason why observers get hired at events and the casters don't control the camera there. Just throwing it out there. Either way, 22 apiece, the scoreline. Could not be any more tense of a match. Again, it's going to be 25 that both teams are aiming for. That is the winning number. That is the finish line. Oh, Get Right hasn't used this position yet. He's going to get 2 kills, nearly a third, but his damage surely gives Ninjas of Pajamas almost the win in amongst itself. Dupree comes through for 1 kill, but it's a consolation frag, 23-22. The score.
NiP holds the lead. They are going to want to try and claim again, just to keep everybody in the loop here. They need 2 of these 3 to win, 1 to tie. And Astralis is the reverse. I think they need to win. They need to win all 3 if they want to outright win it. And then they need to win, I think, 2 to tie it. Math is always very confusing, especially at 6 a.m.
Yeah, especially after a game that's lasted like kind of almost 2 maps by itself.
Yeah.
If not 3 actually, with the delays.
And just going after another one that was of comparable length.
Yep, indeed. But it has been one hell of a match. An entertaining Counter-Strike. NiP with the advantage. Need 2 rounds. This time there is going to be an AWP picked up for Device. Intriguing. They didn't go for this the last time around. They were almost in an identical position. So obviously feeling like that AWP could give them a little bit of power to play with. They're going to go for the boost. Device gets flashed, instantly retaliates with a shot, but it will not be connecting.
NiP basically just sneaking their way through the tunnels right now, leading up to connector here. Very, very little presence across the map at all beyond this, though. As we can see, they're all holding back, and oh, okay, round's going to get canceled for some reason. What's going on? You have the chat. I don't.
I don't even want to read what it says. It's a lot of words I can't really read out. Let's just say they're a bit pooper pains in chat.
Okay.
They're not happy right now. I don't even know what's happening.
Well, we don't know, so.
Well, I'm being told there's some issues with microphones. Issues with sound right now.
Okay.
Which has been a recurring theme, to be fair, on both matches. And I'm not sure what the ETA is on it. They're still discussing amongst themselves as to what the issue is. I think they're asking for an admin as well.
Yeah, just give clarity to this too. Metas actually has the chat, the in-game chat working. I know you guys can probably hear the clicks, but I have it off currently, so you guys probably can't see the messages. Metas is basically our info guy. Since again, we're not actually at the event in Poland. I'm on the other side of the world from it, and Metas is over in England, so we're not necessarily in the loop when it comes to the information when this kind of stuff happens. So we just have to kind of go off of what info we can get from the in-game stuff. So go ahead.
Trust me, Blue, you're happy you don't have the chat up because it's not very flattering to the event right now.
All right, guys. So I think we're gonna kick up the tunes again while we wait for this to get resolved. As soon as it is ready, I mean, like I said before, we'll be right back as soon as the match is live. So just stick around, and we'll be bringing it back to you in a second here. And we're back. All right. Like I said, I think some technical difficulties there causing a bit of a delay, but we are back into it now. Obviously, that round that was being played out, there was nothing that really happened, so it's not going to count. We just reset the half there and start off from the 4th round of the 3rd overtime. Let's get to it. as Astralis are getting rather aggressive, even into the connector here too. Glaive will have himself quite a bit of a battle if he faces this big push that's about to work his way from NiP.
Yeah, so it is going to be the same buy as last time, of course, before the restart came in. The device does have the AWP. This time he didn't have the spawn to really utilize onto the balloon size. He did before, and Piet, oh, he actually had the drop on Kirby, but doesn't land a single bullet to him. Forest will dispatch of Kirby, so he can't stay around mid for too much longer. One fun trade actually probably favors Ninjas in Pajamas slightly in this kind of a scenario, though. Well, for a couple more seconds before Freiburg bites the dust.
Yeah, Device completely blind, still finds that shot. Beautiful in the timing from him to be able to pick that one back up. So Astralis will still hold the advantage for right now. NiP a bit scattered, of course, but still very decisively going to be proceeding up towards A. They won't change their plans based off of that, but they no longer are going to be able to have any long pressure, which enables for almost an instant flank against them. Device is caught peeking there, if I get right. So they take him down at the very least, but like I mentioned before, Glaive can immediately swing back in and shut these guys down from the backside. I think he's going to call for Xyp9x to rotate back up. They're still keeping Dupree downstairs in the event that NiP do swing this back, but I don't think that's going to happen. They're going up onto the site. Forest actually makes very quick work of Xyp9x, which I think is actually going to call off the flank. They'll just have Dupree do it instead as he's working his way up from the other bomb site. And now Glaive is a swing back in, does get that first kill, but the bomb is going to go down onto the site, and now Exist is there for the trade. So it's all up to Dupree as he's sneaking his way back from the connector.
Intelligent place to plant it as well. They didn't know if there's a player rotating or if there's a player long. They planted safe on the truck, and they both peak at the same time. Perfect play by the Ninjas, and they now have 2 of their own match points. Just need to convert one of these. Astralis will have a full buy, and I believe I saw an AWP dropped. Yeah, so Dupree's Device, pardon me, is going to have another AWP. But the NiP boys now have a real shot at taking this map.
He found himself a good shot last time, it just wasn't able to carry it over into the actual gunfight, unfortunately. So NiP were able to crunch it there. And now, like I said before, this is like the most leeway anyone has had in this entire match with regards to actually, winning it out. NiP have themselves 2 in a row to try and close over. I think both of the other overtimes have come down to just 1 potential round. So for right now, NiP, again, just taking it slowly. And again, taking that connector control, which they've been allowed to have through this entire map. Very, very few occasions has Astralis actually actively attempted to stop them from taking connector control. So once again, they're just going to walk right in and grab it for free.
That's what they do that really counts, and Astralis have given them connector so many times so far over the duration of this map. We're now into, what, the 47th round, I think? If my maths is correct. No, that's just absolutely absurd. Could we be heading to quadruple overtime? It will certainly not want that to become a reality and convert one of these next 2 rounds. They're moving out a connector over to the A side. 45 seconds to execute on the site with. Molotov going to go in, make sure no one's hiding on the short side there behind the alcove. And now Device is going to have a peek with his AWP. This is a very sketchy position, especially if he gets double peeked. Smoke is going to stop him from getting any picks for the time being. Does rattle off a shot on his retreat. Now shy of 30 seconds. Ninjas in Pajamas have got very little to play with in terms of any information, in terms of nades. They're going to have to rely on pure entry frag power.
And they don't have any, any leeway on this bomb side either. Everybody from Astralis is here to defend it. Kirby already shotting in for 2 kills. He gets himself a 3rd as well before finally going down to Forest. It's Forest and Get Right left alone here now. Xyp9x and Glaive move back in and they trade out those last few kills, so Astralis holds on. But we've got 1 more round to go.
Could we have an extra overtime to go as well? I'm not sure what happened there for NiP. Just leaving things far too late. If they had a pick or 2, if it was like a 3-on-5, then it would make sense to execute with that kind of time left. But a 5-on-5 when you have no information, no nades left, it's incredibly ballsy. Like, you're really resting on the likes of Freiburg to get you those entries.
And
they speed things up in this round, Blue.
Well, the one thing that you can immediately notice on this run is that they avoid the connector. That's been their go-to spot for OT and the regulation on T side. They very rarely have changed that up, but now that they were utterly crushed, again, they weren't really playing to a strat that would really keep their A play a secret. But now, hopefully, by changing it up a little bit and shifting a lot of the pressure towards long, they might have a better chance of doing that, or at the very least trying to catch a couple of members of Astralis off guard. That was the big issue, is that they waited so long to actually execute there that Astralis knew with 100% certainty that it was going to be coming to that A bomb site, and they had a 4-stack there, which basically made it impossible for them to push. And this time, again, I'm not sure how many players exactly got spotted there, but that jump up from device, he was able to spot at least 1 or 2 of them trying to push up towards long. Oh, and there's going to be the boost up from behind the APC on top of another teammate, where he grabs the kill and exists, and that's a very crucial player to knock out.
That's a perfect start as well. Nade also finds his way after Freiburg. Here comes the spray from Forest. Pit comes in with the kill. NiP are going to go down extra player though. Zipex, I think that was through smoke. It's a second kill. Freiburg's going to try and finalize it onto him. And indeed he will. 2-on-3 as the bomb does get planted. But it's more the issue of another boost coming in here from Astralis. Here comes Freiburg now. And a 1-on-3. Down he goes. Quadruple overtime.
We do it again. There's no breaks. We're just going to continue with Devices dancing a little bit there as they do get the defuse. So now the real question is, now that, you know, this game has been going on for, I would say, at least an hour and a half now, this to a certain degree becomes a war of attrition and who can actually sustain for this long and keep, you know, their wits about them to actually close out on the match. This is where things are going to get really crazy.
I mean, if we're struggling, but just imagine what the players are like at this stage. They must be gasping.
Especially NiP after what happened with Exist back in, I think that was first overtime that disconnected.
Yeah. Well, here we go. Now the magic number, 28. Just because this is kind of unfamiliar territory. You don't often see games go this kind of a distance.
Especially not this tier.
Yes, absolutely not.
So, NiP, well, another change up to their T side. Again, something that we didn't see a whole lot of back in Regulation or any of the previous overtimes, is that they're just going to stretch themselves over here into a B play. A lot of Molotovs raining out to the site, and they get the first initial kill here. Good response to the flashbang. Allows for Zip to sneak in a kill. Kierby finding another one as well, and he's going to be available here. Glaive, this is from the pit, to further restrict the access that NiP get. It was good initially, but there was no follow-up to actually get site control. So now Astralis are fighting back hard, and it's not looking like NiP are going to be able to recover unless there's a big hero play from Forest.
Exists 12 health and a dream. Bomb dropped in a horrible position for him on top of everything else, just adding to his woes. And keep in mind that NiP did lose their first game against Fnatic 16-14, so this would effectively, if they lose this, be at 0-2 already. Early stages of the groups. Astralis swept aside Optic, although it was certainly a lot closer than I'm sure they were anticipating. 50 seconds left. Exist has time, but just doesn't have health, doesn't have position.
Doesn't have the bomb either.
Yep.
Here's the other interesting thing too, if we look at this from like a meta perspective over the course of the entire tournament, is these guys still have to play the rest of their groups today. So they're playing these long matches, especially Astralis, and they still have to get through the rest of their group stage matches today too. So there's a lot more CS to be played for these two teams. And they have to try and keep their momentum going throughout the rest of the day.
Absolutely. Astralis take the advantage this time. This is, ladies and gents, the 50th round of Counter-Strike on this map. We have now got into two full maps of CS, if I went the distance. That's how long these guys have been playing for. Just to put it in perspective. That's without really any breaks. Just constant Counter-Strike.
There was a bathroom break at one point, but that was about it. As there's actually going to be mollies on both sides here in the connector. NiP wanting to take control. This is the first time in quite a while we've actually seen Glaive or anyone on Astralis try to resist this. We've seen Device as well fire off the shot. That is going to take down Forrest, who is lurking over there in the playground. So they've taken him down. That's really good control for Astralis. Again, that's really going to restrict NiP to only a few options for their actual take. So they'll be able to read into this quite nicely and rotate accordingly, as we can see now from the players on the back A site.
Device for the opening pick in this confrontation. He's got both of them, in actual fact, and he's going to be getting a fourth on top of it. Great work by the AWPer, finally showing what he's capable of doing. Gone under the radar a bit. 2-round advantage for Astralis. 2 more required to finalize this map. What I meant is, I should also clarify this, guys. I didn't mean like 2 full in terms of the 60. I just mean if it went the distance in terms of being a long game. But yeah, EU maths, OP.
And, well, the real question is, are we going to see the 50 bomb from Zipix? He's the closest right now at 49. One more, and we'll have ourselves a bit of a 50 bomb on him. It's 49. He's still holding like a super positive ratio too. 49 and 28. He's up by that many kills at this point. He's up by, I think, 21 currently. So Xyp9x moving in though, and it's gonna be fast from NiP. But this is all a ruse. It's really just to apply a bit of pressure early on and try to force some of these rotates. The curious thing though is that they apply this pressure and they're nowhere near ready to try and push in towards A. Most of them are still really just going into long when they go for this hit. So Device, he's still able to watch out for this type of play. Flashbang's gonna go over, but that's easy to dodge. And Forrest just has to cross back after he loses his teammate here.
This would be the first time, if Astralis can convert this, that we've seen one team take a 3-0 lead in overtime. So NiP will be desperately trying to make sure that stat doesn't become a reality. Device in for another one. Down he goes. Freiburg and Forest. A lot of work ahead and 45 seconds left. And if they do go into connector, Kirby is in prime position to strike.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job, Astralis, of reading the position from NiP on this half so far. Freiburg sees it, but still, Kirby's able to hold, gets the double kill to end it. And that's the first flawless half we've had from one of these teams here. Astralis goes up 27-24, and now they have 3 chances to close out the map.
Yeah, as I said, we haven't seen this yet. We haven't seen a team get a 3-0 clean sweep in overtime. So this definitely doesn't bode well for NiP. It would be a heartbreaking loss if they did lose from this stage. I mean, we'll be to whoever loses this game. They've been through a grueling matchup, a real gauntlet of Counter-Strike. So here we go, NiP. 3 rounds required in a row on their CT side, and the CT side has been the weaker side for both teams throughout this game. Forrest is going to go for an AWP. One of the first times we've seen this in overtime for him, right off the bat. They're trying to mix things up as Device did.
NiP are scrambling around the map at this point too, as they now need to pull off the same feat. There's no chance for them to actually win it here. They'd have to go to quintuple overtime to try and still close this one out. So things are certainly looking bleak indeed for NiP. And keep in mind, again, as Metas has mentioned a few times here, this would send them down 0-2 after already losing their first game versus Fnatic just a couple of hours ago. It's Kirby that opens things up, though. Looking good for Astralis on the opener. That'll give them water control. That's just Get Right. Unfortunately, being punished for his aggression. And now Astralis, if they want to, they can poise up for a quick B execute. It's split evenly, just 2-2 across the map. But it seems like with the time remaining, Astralis are still going to do a little bit more investigating. Just sending Kirby back, though. More than likely is going to regroup with these guys and watching out for any quick flanks. And then if they don't see anything, into the B site, they'll go.
Well, NiP are trying to spread out as much as they can across the map. You've got Forrest looking down long. Freiburg was watching short. 2 players on B watching Monster and short, respectively. But the issue is that when you spread out that thin, if you get that fist of the terrorist just punching through your face, there's very little you can do to deter against that. Smokes are starting to connect on the site. And with already NiP with 2 players left, it's not looking too good. Freiburg comes up. Loads of players ahead of him. He goes down. Forrest is going to have to clutch this 1-on-4. Otherwise, Astralis will break the Swedish Hearts and move through to a 2-0. Do you have it in your locker, Forrest? Here we go.
No room to get in either. He was smoked back off, so he's even got to delay this one. Good flashbang, but they're all there, and they're all going to be able to shut it down. Flawless 4th overtime from Astralis. They do win that war of attrition, and they will go up 28-24 to finally, after almost 2 hours of combat, end this map. Astralis continue forward, and again, it's after looking so weak at the beginning of the map that they do end up coming out on top to that degree. Same thing that they had to go up against with Optic there, where they started off from behind and then swung it back towards the end of the first half. Well, they do the same thing here in the second half. After going down from 11-4, they win it in the 4th overtime with a final score of 28-24. That's going to close out this match for right now, guys. We should have our next game. I don't actually know if we're going according to our usual schedule now, because this game also took so long. So we're going to figure out what exactly is happening. And as soon as we have our next match, we'll be bringing that to you guys. Stick around here on the B stream for IEM Katowice 2017. The group stages live right here from the internet.
Do you want to feel like a